Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom and welcome to the Galtopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report. Breakfast is served, and let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with one of our favorites and a very good friend of the channel, Mighty D. Well, let's see, the video is DSP Post-Marriage Podcast Highlights, Justifying the Scam, and Mom Saves the Day. Ladies and gentlemen, this right here is going to be the appetizer, if you will, of a 2, if not 3-part broadcast, or, well, it's one part of a much larger broadcast to come later. It'll span over 2 or 3 parts. You guys know what I mean. And this was also done by request, so that's also a good thing too. The initial plan before this request came in was we were going to actually go over all 3 parts of Phil's podcast. It's about 3 hours plus. There's nobody really here in the newsroom who wanted to do that, and I don't blame them. So the pup in the sharp suit stands alone, ladies and gentlemen, on that. That's okay. Not everybody can withstand the gout, especially for long periods of time. So that's understandable. And then this request came in, and I think at the time that I'm recording this, Snort Burnell actually has part 2 of their podcast highlights out. I don't know if there's going to be a part 3, but we'll just basically combo it together. So Mighty D and Snort Burnell are always a good combo. And then there's some stuff by Mrhuth Stuff. There's a couple of videos out for that. That should be good. And then we can get into, we'll take a bit of a hiatus for a little bit, and then we'll come back and it'll all work out. Try to get some wings reports out there to you guys and everything before that all happens. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. A brief, I guess, synopsis of the situation. So, as you guys know, Phil has possibly been lying to the fan base since the very beginning about taxes. He ran off, ended up marrying Kat for tax reasons, for who knows what, to be perfectly honest with you. Off the basis of that, Mom and Dad flipped the bill on just about everything, at least so it sounds. There are some people that are giving a little bit of pushback on that. They feel that Phil actually took their money and he spent his money to take that trip over there. I mean, you know, there's a little bit of back and forth, but you know, time will tell, as I like to say. Time will tell on that. In any case, Phil goes over there, begs for money, gets it, not only to get married, not only for the trip in its entirety, but also to pay his taxes. Now, I am of the theory that Phil knew that Mommy and Daddy, or at least Mom, was going to cover all those taxes from the jump. Hence the reason why he had nothing to worry about when he headed over there. But that's neither here nor there. Give me some time to elaborate, and then we'll move on with that. In any case, like I said, that'll come at a much later date. In any case, Phil is pretty much easy breezy, at least at the moment. He has his soulmate locked in. He has his taxes taken care of. He has a 10-year plan that's bound to fail in 5. And life is good, kinda. Except for the mods revolting on him, at least some of them. Some leaks came out about him trying to take down channels and or videos. That's always great. And who knows what other gay ops that is afoot, if you will. But we'll elaborate on that later. You guys aren't actually here for all of that. I hope you guys' day is going well. I hope you guys like what we have for breakfast. Got pancakes, crepes, French toast. No bacon. No bacon. Lots of fruit. I want you guys to go light. I want it to be fresh and whatnot. Despite the fact that some of these pictures do not actually fit the full screen, but that's okay. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's all right. Okay. You know what I mean? It's all right. I've made my mistakes too, so shit happens. But in any case, we're gonna go late for this broadcast. Kinda, sorta. The real bacon, the real meat of the breakfast extravaganza that I have planned for you guys will be coming later on. So look out for that. And I think that's pretty much it. Like, let's just go ahead and get into the broadcast itself. I hope you guys are all doing well and whatnot. I hope your guys' week went well, to be perfectly honest with you. And depending on when you see this, I hope your week starts off great. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network Productions. You guys all know the slogan. I know you guys don't smell no bacon cooking, but you guys smell that fresh fruit. And maybe, and you smell those pancakes and crepes and French toast, and maybe there might be some bacon that gets stuck in. Maybe. Just a little bit. Maybe turkey bacon? Are some of you guys okay with turkey bacon? You guys are gonna have to be okay with turkey bacon. You guys all, you guys all know the slogan. It's time to watch me work. Oh, I don't think I've ever had turkey bacon on the broadcast, actually. Oh boy.
Stay back! We will defend ourselves! We will defend ourselves! We will defend ourselves! Stay the fuck back! Stay the fuck back! Pull it out, pull it out, pull it out, pull it out! Stay the fuck back!
That's pretty good, actually. Just in case you guys don't catch the reference, that's from the Andy Worski and who was he with? Failure. It was Andy Worski, Failure, and I think the guy who ended up actually going to jail was Chris. I think his name's Chris. Yeah. He was a fan. He's not actually part of the internet blood sports community or anything like that. But sadly, he ended up going to jail. I think they were in Miami and whatnot when all that happened. Sad situation. Sad situation indeed. But that's what that reference is from. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We are here with one of the great Picassos of our day, Mighty D. DSP, post-marriage podcast highlights, justifying the scam, and mommy saves the day. Snort from Mommy Burnell. Let's go.
Oh! All right. What is going on, everybody? Phil here, live on the stream. I am back, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! What a week. What a week it has been. What a week. My God.
I mean...
How do I even begin? I guess I begin by saying, thanks for the money, stupid fuck. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the big topic on everyone's mind that I got married in Connecticut.
You better call a goddamn priest, because that shit ain't natural.
That is correct. I got married in the state of Connecticut when I was there. Not a single person really expected that was going to happen, because I never talked about it on purpose.
Now, here's the thing. Because we had talked about this on the last broadcast or the broadcast before, depending on if any of these videos go out in order. Why is it that you live in the state of Washington, but you got married in Connecticut? Like, what was the point of doing that? Like, what silly nonsense is Phil doing to where he couldn't get married into his own state? The reason why I say that, ladies and gentlemen, is because, one, you don't need, when you go to the courthouse, right, you don't actually have to have a witness. It may vary from state to state, but actually I'll say that. It may vary from state to state, but most states you don't require a witness. So literally, him, cat, IDs, money, done. There you go. You're married. At least legally, anyway. And then if you need to go to the if you get married in a church, for example, then you would present that, because obviously the church needs that shit. And then they'll go through all their things, and they award you or they present you, I should say, with another like marriage certificate, and then so on and so forth. Either which way, if his parents or if his mom sent him the money and told him, and you're going to see that coming up, not to spend any of this money on taxes, that they're supposed to be using it for anything that they need between Connecticut and between Seattle and Connecticut, which is not really Seattle. He lives outside of Seattle, but we'll just say Seattle because that's the closest city, biggest city he's next to. You know what I mean? Why is it that you just couldn't get married in Seattle? Why couldn't you just get married in the state of Washington? You don't have any plans to go back to Connecticut until your parents die. There ain't nothing else out there for you. You said it yourself. Your words, not mine. So why not get married in the state of Washington? What silly shit is Phil up to that would warrant him to get married there? He could have easily have gotten married in Washington and still had a small ceremony and spend the week over there with his parents. I'm just throwing that out there. DSP News.
My own and Kat's own and my family's personal safety. It was basically the best kept secret I've ever kept. And it went incredibly well.
Oh my God, excuse me.
Just to give you guys a heads up, because I am going to be talking about this, obviously. And this is a humongous secret that I kept for months and months. And didn't give you guys any inkling whatsoever. In fact, if you guys didn't even notice in recent days, right before my visit, a couple people were asking me live on stream about getting married when I'm in Connecticut, and would it be a good idea and all of this. And I basically had to completely BS everybody.
Basically, you lied. Yeah, he lied about it all the way up till, because he left on what, his last day, sorry, of him working, air quotes, was what, April 6th? He left on the 7th, I think. He was asked about this on April 1st, which I talked about that, sorry, on one of the past broadcasts. So, yeah, he was basically, which leads me to believe he knew he was going to get married when he got out there. He knew that way beforehand. But you and sat there and bullshitted these people all the way up till. But that's not even the part that's really important. Him getting married in Connecticut is just a kind of a one or done thing. You know, and after an hour or so, the nostalgia kind of leaves you. It's the fact that where's all that tax money? Since mommy took care of everything, and that's what she did. He's saying that she didn't cover everything, but do you really think Phil's going to sit there and be like, oh, well, I have the people on my streams and on my YouTube channel, my fans, if you will, my cult, they raise X amount of money, so I just need this. Or would Phil really be like, yeah, this is what I owe in taxes, and just give me all of it? You think Phil isn't above ripping off his own parents? Like, does that really sound like something that Phil wouldn't do? Phil has gotten over on everybody he's ever known and ever met. You know what I mean? So there's no reason why he wouldn't have tried to stiff his parents for their money, or for this money. But then again, as I had said, he's only screwing himself further and further out of his own inheritance. But that's just my own opinion, of course.
BS everybody. And I basically had to completely BS everybody. It was really tough on the fly trying to make up shit to tell you guys.
Because, as you guys know, in the United States, federal taxes are due tomorrow. Tomorrow is April 15th. They're due, and you know, I needed help with my taxes, and I was very upfront and transparent with all of you on that. And I knew that doing these multiple marathon streams, trying to raise tips for that and everything, that I basically had to keep everything else a secret, because I knew people would be fucking with me personally on a personal level if all that was going on. You know, I knew. I mean, just imagine. Can you guys just imagine how the trolls would have reacted if they knew I was flying to Connecticut to get married, but at the same time I needed help with these taxes? And by the way, as I'm going to explain, don't worry, again, everything's going to be explained. Everything I've told you guys up front about that stuff is 100% a lie. I fully knew that with the situation going on with the taxes and everything, all right, that once the word got out that I had gotten married in Connecticut, that you were going to have insane amounts of trolling. I just knew it. I knew this was going to be the field day.
But tell them why there was going to be insane amounts of trolling. You told them that you couldn't get married because you couldn't afford it. And then all of a sudden you fly out to Connecticut to get married. And as you just said, you knew about this. This was your little secret. And you've been holding on to it the whole time. So you've been lying to them no matter what. It isn't BSing. You lied to them. And the reason what makes it an even more egregious lie is you did it on the pretense of money, which is probably the reason why you married Kat in the first place, which makes it even worse. Hence the reason why you have the revolution. It's not even a revolution because they don't have enough, because the people who have broken away don't even have the heart for it. But that's the reason why you have the revolt that you have, to be honest. It's just, I mean, it is what it is. And speaking of which, as it pertains to, someone asked me what was my thoughts on the people who decided to leave Phil. I'll sum it up this way for at least right now. Just because they broke ranks and they left does not mean that they're on your side. It doesn't mean that, I'm not saying that they're enemies, but it doesn't mean that they're on your side. It doesn't mean that they're like you. It doesn't mean any of that at all. You know what I'm saying? Just because they woke up, if you will, doesn't mean not a damn thing. Because you got to understand, the people who are breaking away have been invested in Phil for a long ass time. It just doesn't turn off. You know what I'm saying? And then being Phil, being the piece of shit that he is, you don't think he's not above trying to email these people and trying to get a hold of them and try to talk them down, if you will, and try to get him to come back to their side? And then imagine something to further that point, who knows out of the people that are leaving don't know about the gay ops that was going on over there. Like that whole situation with King Tut having his docs being spread around amongst his mods, and so on and so forth. The shit they were trying to use to take down Tevin and Snort Burnell. Who knows who else is involved in that bullshit, or who else was targeted? Have any of these people debriefed yet? And what I mean by debrief, I mean divulge everything. Not go on someone's Discord and do a little bit here, or talk a little bit of this vagary shit on Twitter. Has someone sat down with somebody else and said, this is everything. This is everything that I did the whole time I was over there with Phil. If they were so hurt that Phil discarded them like the piece of garbage that Phil thought they were, has any of them debriefed yet? Has any of them sat down with anybody and laid it all out and been like, this is everything that I did over there. This is everything that I saw. This is everything that I heard. I don't think anybody's done all that yet. Yeah, people are trickling out stuff here or there. It's very possible because the leaks are being run through LipJan and DSP archives. So I know whatever they get, they probably have to censor stuff. That makes sense. And then it's being posted up. You can also check Kiwi Farms. They have a thread strictly about that. So maybe some stuff is being trickled out, this, that, and the third. But until the, 2 or 3 people who've been basically kicked out, who were used and abused and then discarded, until they get full debriefs, until I see full debriefs on everything that they said and everything they did, it is what it is. Leg slap. They're just another group of individuals that Phil discarded. And more often than not, a few of them might go back. Unless they go ahead and divulge what they know. They might as well. What do they have to lose? If they're really hurt by what Phil did to them, then tell the truth and say everything that you guys participated in. It is what it is. If not, who's to say they don't end up going back to Phil in a couple of months? That's just my opinion on that for right now. That's just my thoughts. No personal shots at any of those individuals. I mean, I'm sorry that you guys got played. Kinda. No, I'm not really sorry, because you guys knew that you guys were going to get played. People before you got played. People before you got discarded. As I said before, if Brightside Viking would get kicked off that way, get kicked to the curb the way he did, then who's to say any of you guys are safe? And let's be honest, you guys were turning against each other left and right anyway. So it is what it is. It's not like there was any real... If you invested anything... it's bad enough you invested your time into Phil. It's bad enough that you guys invested your money, your finances into Phil. But if you invested yourself emotionally into Phil, you got what you got. I'm not saying you deserve what you got, but you got what you got. DSP News.
Trolls where they were going to go out and literally just make shit up because this is their livelihood. This is what they do. This is how they get their attention and their jollies. I'm sure they probably got insane amounts of views in the last few days since I announced on Wednesday that I was married. And it's all 1,000,000% based on speculation. 1,000,000% based on speculation. Not a single piece of it is based on fact. Because the bottom line is there's no facts to support anything that any of them have said.
And Mighty D brings up a great point. He says there's no proof, it's completely based on speculation, but he doesn't provide any evidence to explain any of it away. He doesn't do any of that. He hits them all with pig psychosis, and they were like, okay, Phil, we automatically believe you. Well, at least some of them did. Not everybody. He used essentially his marriage as a shield for basically the tax scam that he pulled off. That's essentially what he did. Now, how is it that you're gonna basically pig-splain what all of these individuals have to say about the situation, yet you have no proof yourself, and then have the nerve to say, oh, well, the reason why I'm not going to provide any proof or any evidence is because for those of you who really believe me, you're not going to care either which way, and you have my back. For those of you who don't believe me, you guys are nothing more than fucking dumbass cucks that I ain't taking all your money from anyway, and get the fuck out. So what's the point? And then, oh, I'm not going to win the detractors over anyway, so yada, yada, yada. Despite the fact that he ends up going on to have like a 3-hour podcast basically trying to pig-splain and get people on his side. Not the people that were sitting there who were okay with getting cucked. Not even the ones who sat there and ended up revolting or ended up getting banned. He was literally trying to get the detractors off his back by doing it for 3 hours. He was also trying to spite them too, if you think about it. Because really, out of that 3 hours... 3+ hours, if you will, there might be 45 minutes worth of anything. Maybe an hour. Maybe. And the rest of it is just, it's incidental, to say the very least. And you're telling me that you did a 3-hour podcast just for the benefit of these people who you supposedly respect and give a shit about? Huh? Even though really he knew that this big event, this big life-changing event, if you will, was going to drum up a bunch of controversy. It was going to bring a lot of attention his way, and it was a great way to get a whole lot of money. Essentially, I don't know what he got for wedding gifts. I think he said a few people gave him some gifts, and then he got about $200 from a couple of guests or whatnot. Whatever. I think there was only 10 people at the wedding altogether anyway. So basically, the Pig Roach cult were basically giving their tribute, their wedding contributions, if you will. That was the whole point of the podcast anyway. So he screwed them twice, if you think about it. Theoretically screwed him 3 times, but you know what I mean.
Oh, Phil's a scammer, and Phil took the money that he said was for taxes, and he did it to pay for a wedding. The whole notion is so ludicrous. It is. It's so ludicrous. If anyone who knows anything, all right, about any kind of wedding planning knows you don't pay for things on the day of the fucking wedding. It's just so stupid. Yes, I'm sure that the Saturday, or the Friday and Saturday before my wedding, I raised, some money for taxes, and I spent that on the venue and everything. What are you talking about? Anything for a wedding that would have had to be done has to be done way ahead of time, okay? There's no way it could
No, not necessarily. You have to put down a deposit on certain things, but we already knew that you probably weren't going to have a venue. So that really didn't matter. Here, I can only speak for myself on this. So, keep that in mind. The only thing I cared about was who paid for the plane tickets, who paid for the hotel, if there was a rent-a-car, who paid for that. I called all that, by the way. Who was paying for all the food that you were going to be consuming, you and Kat, called that too. Who ended up paying for the dress and the rings, and how much money was mommy and daddy going to give you out of this? That was it. That was the only goddamn things I even cared about. I didn't give a shit about much else outside of that. The taxes thing was just a bonus. I think most people felt that exact same way. I think all this extra shit is just kind of on you. And if you did put any money down on a venue, someone would have figured it out by now. Just like, for example, the hotel that you stayed at. It wouldn't have been hard to figure it out because he told us that the hotel is on such and such street. There's only 3 hotels on that street. All you do is call all 3 hotels and say, hey, I believe I stayed at this hotel between this period and this period, and I left my whatever there. Is it possibly in the lost and found? They look your name up in the hotel records. They go back and look and be like, okay, I just checked Mr. Burnell. We can verify you did stay here, but no, we can't find, we couldn't find your items. We apologize. If it does come up, we'll let you know. Thank you very much. Bam. That can be done in like 10 minutes. So it's not like finding the venue or finding the hotel or finding the restaurants or anything is going to be that hard. I think Kiwi Farms already has most of that locked down anyway. Just saying. Dspnews.
Go towards it. In addition to that, the funny part, you have 0 evidence of anything that I did in Connecticut. You have none. Because the bottom line is, I'm sure as soon as I announced I was married, you can rest assured the trolls went right on the internet. Oh my God, we got to search for wedding venues. Where was the Burnell party? We got to find where Phil got married. What did he pay for? Is there a church that we can find where there was a Burnells were married? Can we do this? And the bottom line,
why would you have gotten married in a church and you're not religious? I'm sorry, I'm just being honest with you. You're not religious, so you wouldn't. I mean, I think he said he was raised Roman Catholic, but he's not actually religious. So why would that even be any point of anything? And to be perfectly honest with you, if nobody's going to the wedding, why why burden the church with that? Just saying that, and I think it's actually against the law to snort in church too. Don't quote me on that, but I think there's some type of legislation against that. Just saying.
They found nothing because guess what?
She's dead! She's dead!
And by the end of this podcast, basically there's going to be two groups. There's going to be a group of people who, actually I'll say there's 3 groups. There's going to be a group of people who are just my supporters.
They believe me anyway.
They know that I'm honest and upfront and truthful about this stuff, and that this was something, lying about the marriage was something I necessarily had to do to protect myself and my family, all right? And people will understand that. Then there's going to be a group of people who maybe heard the thing and were like, man, that's kind of weird that he didn't tell us, but I want to hear the story. And once you hear the story, you'll be like, okay, great. I got my answers and good to go. And then you're going to have a group of people who just don't care. No matter what I say or do, they're not going to believe me. I could provide you with empirical evidence, proving everything I say is true. I could show you emails, I could show you documents, licenses, I could show you a million things, and they'll still say it's fake. So there's no point in me trying to satisfy those people because I know those people are never going to be satisfied. So basically, I'm just going to do what I always do. I'm going to tell you guys the truth up front.
You're going to tell them the truth despite the fact that you've been lying to them for weeks, months, if not longer. But now you want to be honest and tell them the truth. Gotcha.
With all of you, I'm going to reveal stuff to you that I couldn't tell you before this trip went down, again, for safety and security purposes. And it should serve to answer all of your questions moving forward. And the other thing about this is, once this podcast is over, this should be a bit of closure. For those of you who are logical humans, you're going to be like, okay, Phil finally explained everything. This is good. We had some questions. They're answered. Now we can move on and have gameplay streams like always, and that's that.
If that's the case, then why even talk about any of this? Why even bring this up? Why did you even tell us that you even had a girlfriend, if you think about it? Seriously, like, if the pig is so concerned with having his little secrets and wanting to protect his family and all this, that, and third, I can't say friends because he doesn't have any, protecting his family, or at least what's left of them, why did you even tell us about Kat? Why was she even a thing? She wouldn't have even had to give up social media. Like, why did you even bother? To be honest with you. I mean, granted, you should have did it anyway. We told you not to. You know what I'm saying? You had people on two sides of a fence that told you, don't tell us anything about her. There's no point. You did it for a couple of reasons. The escort saga fucked him. It fucked him. So he kind of had no choice but to say something. And two, his own ego. Which is what I've always told you guys. Give him enough rope and he'll hang himself. Because he can't help not saying something. He can't help not being the center of attention. He can't help not knowing something and not being able to spread it to others and then seeing if he can profit off it. It's what he does. He's always been that way. He exploited his friends and his family on past videos for profit. You're telling me now that all those people are gone and any little thing that he has going on in his life that should be left to him and Kat's own devices, he won't put it out there for profit? He's shown you a history of this. He's shown you patterns of this. He's conditioned not just his own fan base, but detractors and detractors also, that this is what he does. If you think about it, he's conditioned a group of us, if you will, to do this. He's not going to change. He's not. That's why that whole spiel he gave us 2 years ago about, oh, I learned my lesson and I can't divulge this, that, and the third, and there's certain stuff I need to keep private and yada yada. Shut that shit up. He doesn't give a damn about any of that. Let me give you an example. That whole cooking with the it wasn't cooking with the king, sorry. That whole cooking with Panda, that little that whole cooking with Cat. I'm sorry. You're gonna probably hear me say Panda a lot over the next couple of weeks. I got love for that chick. It is what it is. I'm gonna come out there and say it. And that's all I'm going to admit to, period. But also, I believe, what Tevin said is right. He's trying to wipe Panda from history. And that can't be allowed. Not on my watch. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to let him get away with that shit. I mean, no one else is going to let him get away with it either. You know what I'm saying? It's not fair. You know what I'm saying? Like Cat was literally, wow. Panda was literally the mule who did all of the heavy lifting and pulling. And Cat is just, I mean, Cat's doing a lot of heavy pulling and stuff too, I suppose. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Panda laid down the groundwork. You know what I'm saying? She's the one who actually, set up the situation, right? And set up the groundwork and set up the track so Cat can go out there and compete in the Kentucky Derby. If it wasn't for Panda, none of this would have even been possible, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's unfair to cut her out of all that. Especially since Phil fucked Panda over. He fucked her over hard. And if my theory even comes up to be remotely true, or at least somewhat right, he more than likely cheated on Panda first. He was cheating on Panda with Cat from the jump. You know what I mean? Or at least not from the jump, but at least since January of 2017. At least that's my thoughts. You know what I mean? That's my thoughts. Which hints to Panda ended up clapping back at him, and then she couldn't handle the pressure, which, you know, that's understandable. And when she had spent like 5 years with this dude, and ended up having the anxiety attack or nervous breakdown or whatever it was. And then Phil exploited that too out of spite. And he knows it. He's not man enough to admit it because he's a pig. He's not a man. But that's what he did. But you just can't wipe someone like that who was in the public eye with you for so long out of history like that. And that's exactly what he's doing. And it's rather pathetic to watch. It's amusing at times, but it's pathetic to watch. You're not going to cover your tracks that way. I mean, if that's the case, start deleting all your videos with Panda in it. Save yourself the trouble. You're not going to do that. So, what's the point? Especially when, to be perfectly honest with you, when Cat, Phil, if you're listening, when Cat runs away with the gusto and gets you for half of whatever it is that you're going to have at that point, I mean, to be honest with you, everybody's going to look back at Panda and be like, well, shit, he fucked up. Because look at Panda. She stayed loyal. And Cat was the one who was, you know, after she won the Kentucky Derby, she took everything else. She went for the Triple Crown, won that, and then she was done with it. It is what it was. So you can't just write somebody out like that. It's not going to work. Or it shouldn't, anyway. We'll see. Sorry for that rant.
A pedophile. DSP is a thief. DSP is a greedy fuck. DSP is this and that.
Phil's a horrible pedophile and a public masturbator.
Phil is an abuser of children who wants to slap, beat up children, and threaten a kid online. This is insane. Much like my ex-girlfriend.
Phil went to Connecticut or whatever. You know, why is he going to have to do a whole podcast about his trip to Connecticut? We don't really care that much, right?
Far from the bright lights of Las Vegas or New York City.
The bottom line is I didn't have to do any of this. I could have come back from this trip and said, well, my private life's my private life. That's it. Let's just hit the ground running and do gameplay. But the thing is,
But the thing is what? Why didn't you just do that? If you didn't do it for profit, which is why you did it, why else? It's not like you give a damn about any of these people. You do to an extent. You give a damn about them because what they can provide you. But outside of that, what is it that fundamentally makes it worthwhile to explain to these people for 3 fucking hours, 4 if you count the actual pre-stream itself, why you secretly got married and you ran off with all their money? Oh, and mommy and daddy, mommy more than daddy, even though more than likely it's daddy's money, went ahead and paid off all your taxes. It is what it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't thought out very well. I mean, definitely on my end, it wasn't thought out. I'm kind of all over the place. But, that's my fault. I shouldn't have had that screwdriver beforehand. But, you know, it is what it is. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. But, this wasn't planned out well. He didn't do well by himself doing this at all. You know what I mean? He certainly shouldn't have done this the moment he came back. He should have let this shit simmer for a little while, a week, you know what I'm saying? And then maybe come out with the podcast or whatnot and make a little bit more sense. But I'll touch on that as we get further and further along.
Value your time and attention. I value your support, and it sucks. I'm going to be very honest with all of you. It fucking sucks. Okay? That I had to hide this.
I had to lie.
And it sucks because I don't like doing that. I pride myself over 10 years that I've been doing this. I've been upfront with most of you, on everything.
Wait. I've been upfront with most of you on everything? Even though you're talking directly to the hardcore fan base who's been there for a really long time? Long time, sorry. So, huh? Well, like, explain that to me a little bit. Like, the people who are actually invested in this, I should say. I understand what he meant, but I'm just being a dick. But the people who are really invested in this shit are the ones who've been around for a long ass time. And you've lied to them quite a bit because they've called you out. Most of the people that were on that podcast, who were in the chat for that podcast were sock accounts. Probably 10 or 12 times over. People who knew you blatantly lied to them over a number of years, over some of it was just mundane shit, which is one of the biggest problems that Phil has, is that he's constantly fanning the fire by lying about stupid shit that just doesn't need to be lied about. Like, he lies about petty shit at times that means nothing. Hence the reason why he doesn't remember the lie later. Hence the reason why it's so easy to call him out. He just doesn't think. And because he doesn't talk to anybody else, because he really don't. He doesn't really talk to anybody. The mods and everything, they're just meat shields and they just give him money. Other than that, he doesn't give a fuck about what those people think. He doesn't actually have an actual confidant to talk to anymore. Like, I would assume outside of Panda and whatnot, I'm sure she was tired of hearing that shit after a while. It was probably Brightside Viking. No one has ever filled Brightside Viking's shoes or boots or whatever it was that Vikings were wearing at those times. no one's fulfilled that role. I don't think anybody ever will, for a number of reasons. So because of that, that's why you get situations like this. He acts on impulse, and that's it. And it's not worth a damn. And if anything, it just gets you in even more trouble. Whatever.
See someone like Jake Likes Cats or Like Cats Jake or Like Jake Cats or whatever the fuck his name is saying, well, you shouldn't have hit it because now you see it makes you look worse. Dude, and immediately you get a dickhead like ITG Jake. I'm going to read it because I've had enough and he's permanently dead.
Here's another thing about about Jake Likes Cats, or whatever variation he uses. He can't get rid of him. He can't. He's tried, but he can't. That dude, I don't know who he's cool with on Phil's little inner circle or his little hierarchy, but Phil can't ban him for more than a day without that guy coming back. And Phil knows it. So it's funny how Phil tries to exercise all this, what little exercise he does. He tries to exercise all of this superiority on his chat, and he really doesn't have any. He really doesn't. You know what I mean? People get unbanned all the time. You've heard Phil bitch about that shit. He has no real control. You know what I mean? It's kind of like with Wings at times, to be honest. Because Wings is like that too. There's certain people over there that Wings just can't get rid of because they just keep coming back. Excuse me, and his moderators are one of the reasons for it. That's why he has to keep rotating. That's why Wings has to keep rotating between moderators every couple of days. Because he doesn't have too many people over there that are very consistent and just hold on to it. He has a couple. Like, he may have less than a handful. But, man, the trolls, when they get over there in mass, 4 or 5 people aren't enough. But just my opinion, though.
And now, do you want us to give you money to see your parents? Fuck you, Jake. How about that? Fuck you. Do you really think...
But what are you mad about? He was right. He was right. That's what you ended up asking for the $5,000 for. Your parents wanted you to go and see them. You said you didn't have the money for it. You came out with this sob story because you wanted people to give you money so you could go over there and see your parents. Until his parents came out their face and said, well, since you're having such a hard time doing that, we'll pay for you to come and see us anyway. And which in truth, this is going to sound brutal, but hang with me on this. In truth, he should have still turned that down because you still don't have the money for your taxes, which was the reason why you couldn't go over there to see them in the first place. The main reason why he couldn't go and see his parents wasn't just the fact that he didn't have the money to go see them, but also because he couldn't afford to miss all those days to pay his taxes. That was the real reason why he didn't go in the first place. But then mommy and daddy flipped the bill and then all of a sudden he goes? So you're telling me that this man right here, this pig roach, whatever you want to call him, he didn't know that there was an incentive of going to see his parents outside of them paying for him to go out there? For him and Kat to go out there. Really? Really?
The scheme of things, it's more important for me to eat some shit for a few days, come back and do a podcast, and like I said, my loyal viewers and followers who trust me anyway are gonna believe me anyway. And so it does, things are gonna continue as business as usual. Or do you think it would, having the whole ceremony ruined, having everyone trolled who was involved with the ceremony all fucking week, probably have assholes calling in pranks and swatting and shit? Do you really think that that's worth it? No. And anyone who is a mature fucking brain is going to understand.
I've been thinking about that over the last couple days, if you will. That's one of the reasons why he can't garner any real support. Because if you oppose Phil, you're a brain dead idiot, you're a moron, you're this, that, and a third. He can't just say, you guys only look at things from one side and just leave it at that. He has to say, you guys only want to hear one side of it and not the other, and that's what makes you guys fucking morons and shit like that. And that's why he has no one that'll support him. He has very few people, I should say, that'll support him. That's one of the reasons why it's harder and harder for him to bring in new support, because he has to insult people. And I don't know if that's just something they do in Connecticut. I don't know if that's just something they do in the Burnell house. I don't know if that's what, mommy's new boyfriend, aka step dude, stepped to him and hit him like that and insulted the shit out of him when he was a kid. I don't know. But either which way, it's not the way to go about anything at all. You sitting there and calling people these names and trying to basically virtually backsmack them and whatnot because they don't take your side is absolutely moronic. It's the internet. People generally come on with the expectation that people are going to lie. I don't know. Whatever.
The bottom line is, many people don't. Many people are just like, well, you're a streamer, so therefore you should be 100% transparent on everything. Fuck your own privacy. Fuck your own, having a nice ceremony. Fuck your family. Fuck everyone. Just share everything and we don't care. It's all on your expense anyway. Ha ha ha, the world's just a big joke. It's not. And those people are so fucked in the head that it doesn't matter what I say or do, they're never going to be convinced otherwise anyway. So I don't give a fuck. JMFS1989 tipped me $1. Can you show us the proof you have tax money? Oh my god. As I've already said, I'm not going to jump the gun. So, Ben Boxer Cheer. He says, it's too late to apologize. It's too late. Oh, I have nothing to apologize for. I have absolutely nothing to apologize for. The only thing that I can say is I am sorry that I had to hide the wedding. That's it. That's it. Nothing. Everything else that I told you guys was upfront, 100% honest. There's nothing to apologize for at all. Don't worry about it. Jack 36.
Did he really just say that? Did he really say he had nothing to apologize for except for hiding for the wedding, and he didn't even really apologize for that? Are you... Alright. I don't know really what else to say about that. You lied to these people for weeks. For weeks on end. And you don't feel that in itself is enough? Like, that doesn't make you... Like, here's the thing. If mommy is paying for all your taxes, right? If she's going to help you with taxes, let's say. Let's go by the Snort lore for a minute. Then pay these guys their money back then. I'm not joking either when I say that. I know most of you guys are probably laughing about that shit. But seriously, though, pay the money back, Phil, if that's the case. Send these kids their money back so they can put that shit back in their piggy bank so they can get themselves chocolate milk on Monday or Tuesday or whenever. If the taxes are already being covered, but you're not going to do that, so then don't you feel a certain type of way over that shit? No, of course you don't, because you're a fucking psychopath and you don't give a fuck. Well, you're a sociopath. And a psychopath too, actually. But the point is that you have no morals. You have no value for people around you. You have no value for people, period. And that's why you did it. That's why he doesn't feel sorry for nothing. Phil still holds on to this dumbass notion that doesn't mean shit to anybody but him, which is hilarious. That because of the fact that he's been around for 10 years, that people owe him. You are indebted to him in some way, shape, or form. For what? Half-assed content, a bunch of fucking racism, and at the end of the day, watching somebody who was so scared of new people who had new ideas, who had new ways of looking at things, and who were just younger and probably just fresher faces, coming into his little pond, which is what it was at the time, and blowing that shit the fuck up and turned it into the vast ocean that it is now, that you try to attack all these different people. Like, for example, he talks all this shit now about how, oh, certain games are too hard. You guys should wait for reviewers. You should, you should let a game breathe for a little while before you spend your money on it. Yet he still plays games day one. Yet he's attacked writers before because they gave bad review for games because he believed that it affected him in some way, shape, or form, which it didn't. It didn't. If people like you, they'll come to see you play whatever garbage that you're playing. If it indeed is garbage, they'll still show up to watch you play it. But see, Phil had so much writing on what these other people said and what these other people thought that when it didn't match with him, he had to attack them. When people like PewDiePie ended up coming into his own and doing everything he's doing, because I think right now PewDiePie is like a hot topic with Phil, but he always is, and ended up surpassing Phil and making all this crazy money or whatnot, yeah, Phil's a jealous piece of shit. Because he saw someone who, in his eyes, in Phil's eyes, put no effort into what he did, and yet he had all the success that came with that. And Phil didn't get any of that when he was allegedly on top. Which Phil was never on top, by the way. He was never on top. Sorry. When you go back and look, was he probably up there in like the top 5, I guess, gamer channels in his heyday? Maybe even top 10? Maybe. He wasn't on top. He was popular. I'm probably not giving him enough credit for how popular he was, but he isn't as popular as he thinks. That's just my thing. I'll be honest with it and say that I'm probably not giving him enough credit, but fuck Phil. Let him work for it like everything else. So that's one of his situations there. It's just the way it goes. So you really are going to run around here and say that you're unapologetic about shit? You've done plenty. You've done plenty that you should apologize for. If you being married and whatnot has opened your eyes about anything, which it hasn't, but if it was, would you have actually have taken this podcast to actually have a chance to be like, you know what, guys, I've done some really messed up shit over the years, and I want to kind of apologize about that and try to clear the air on some of the dumb shit that I've done. Even if he doesn't get into pig-splaining it at length, at least throw some stuff out there and be like, hey, I felt bad for some of the stuff that I've been doing over the years. I feel bad for all these things that I had to hide from you guys and so on and so forth. I mean, in truth, him hiding the marriage just goes to show that he has no faith in the very people that he asks his money from. Because at the end of the day, it ends up happening the exact same way. You can't keep running back to, we're going into some panda lore now. You can't keep running back to that and being like, oh, well, that's the reason why we didn't go to her brother's wedding. We didn't want people to swat it and this, that, and the third, yada, yada, yada. Despite the fact that where's the evidence that said anybody was even planning that? Like, who the fuck is going to sit there and screw up somebody's wedding like that? Especially when they're not even the target. They're not even the prime objective. It's you. And I'm sorry, but I doubt anybody is going to go ahead and screw up somebody else's day, what would be considered the first day of the rest of their lives. No one's going to screw that up to get bad dark side Phil. But Phil was the one who kicked all that paranoia. He's the one who did all that. And for what? Because you went around a bunch of people that you didn't like, that you thought didn't like you, and then you didn't have enough gall to sit there and explain what it is you do for a living because you know it sounds stupid. Because that's the real reason why I think you didn't go. I think that's the real reason why you never really went around Panda's family. Because when everybody starts getting into, oh, what do you do for a living, or what do you do? Well, they already know what they're doing because they actually know each other. When they ask you, what are you going to say, Phil? You sit on your fat, gout-ridden ass and you play video games for a living, you convince dumb kids to give you money. They're going to look at you, and then they're going to look at Panda, and then they're going to look at you, and then someone's going to pull Panda to the side and be like, I hope you're gold digging this guy, because if not, why are you with him? And since you're kind of socially awkward anyway, I mean, you more than likely was going to have the panic or anxiety attack before Panda would, to be honest. I don't know.
Give me $2 is waiting on the divorce. Well, you're going to be waiting a long fucking time. Let's put it that way. Trust me when I say this. I'm madly in love with Kat. I want to be with her for the rest of my life. I'm not someone who just rushes into this, you know. I've known her for 2 years. And
well, you've known her for 2 years. We'll touch on that later. You've known her for 2 years. You don't rush into stuff, yada, yada. You knew Panda for 5 and you wouldn't marry her. Which is really what that comes down to now. That's like the new chapter in the Panda lore. Is he never, not that it should be new, I think everybody knew that. But he had never had any intention of marrying Panda at all. He never had any intention of marrying her. Whatsoever. And he knows it. She was merely a serf. She was merely there to serve him, and that was it. If he had to throw a wedding ring, or not a wedding ring, if he had to throw an engagement ring on her finger to keep her, what's the word I'm looking for? To keep her, not necessarily in line, to keep her, I guess, to keep her complacent, to kind of keep her happy, at least for the time being, that's probably a better phrase, then he was going to. But he never had any intention of marrying Panda, at all. Which is interesting, because then why'd you stay with her for so long? Like, what was the real benefit of keeping that girl around if you didn't love her? And if she didn't mean anything to you outside of what she provided you, which is basically cooking, cleaning, and getting a job. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when you look at it. So, and then you have Kat, who is, in a lot of ways, a complete polar opposite to Panda. And you fell madly in love with her because of what? Because she barely acknowledges your existence? Because you're not the center of her world? Because you can't figure her out? Because you can't see what her real objective is or her real motivations? Can you not really... it makes me think, Phil, that you really don't know what real is. It's funny how the realest guy on YouTube doesn't realize what real is. He doesn't see it. So maybe Panda's love was so real, it was too real to touch. So that's why he couldn't figure it out, or he couldn't understand it. It's really, really strange. You know what I mean? It's very, very strange on how this dude is and shit. But then it still doesn't explain his obsession with John. But, I mean, whatever. That could be touched on at a later time and date.
You know, lived with her for over a year. She's been a massive improvement to my life. She's been life-changing in many ways.
Okay, you don't like me. Got it. You think I'm a scammer. Got it. You think I'm a scumbag. Got it. You think I'm the worst gamer on the planet. Got it. All right. On the wedding post? On the wedding post. The post announcing our marriage to the world. You gotta put that shit, like, does that not show how fucked up you are? Even if you hate my guts and you believe all these negative, ridiculous conspiracy theories about me, the wedding post is not the place to put that shit.
Hank Duma tipped me $100. Wow, thank you very much, Hank. Listen, guys, just to say I'm incredibly grateful for any contributions today, guys. I'm not expecting...
Now, let's talk about that briefly. As it pertains to the wedding post, I mean, let's be honest, he was editing comments for a while on that shit anyway. Some of those comments he just let fly, but a lot of that shit looked edited to me, at least when I end up getting a chance to look at most of it. I mean, it is what it is, to be honest. Is it right to do that? I don't know. I don't know if I could say it's right or wrong to sit there and to sit there and say, where's the money, Phil, on his wedding post, if you want to consider that toxic. Or if you have people saying, what the fuck, Phil? Like, why'd you lie to us? I don't think that's negative, being that you kind of have a lot to own up. And especially since the positives, surprisingly enough, outweigh the negatives on it anyway. Would I have gone on there and left a comment? No, I wouldn't have. But that's me, though. You know what I mean? I'm going to hit you. He knows I'm going to end up backsmacking him later anyway. So it is what it is. So, but then again, you can't use that yet again as a shield, which is exactly what you're doing. You can't use a couple of people who went over there and asked you some, what you would consider negative questions, or left negative posts on there, and let that outweigh the positives, which there are a lot of positives on that wedding post. But since Phil was only looking for the negative, that's the reason why it bothers him. And you got to scroll. Well, you did before you started editing those posts. You had to really scroll down to try to find some of those alleged negative comments. They weren't there just out in your face. There was a whole lot of positives that beat the negatives. And there's people in the chat trying to engage with those other people. Be like, dude, come on, man, it's this wedding. Dude, let it go, let it go. Why is it that Phil is looking for the negatives off the rip? And why is it that he's letting the negatives basically live rent-free in his head over the positives? Someone explain that to me. Why is it, Phil, that you're on your honeymoon, right? The night that you end up, well, not your honeymoon, but you're on your wedding night, and you're looking at what people are saying about you on Twitter, and on Kiwi Farms, and on Instagram, instead of you going ahead and getting to the business at hand and porking your wife. She is your wife now, right? Just saying. I mean, I understand that you're a quick squirter, so maybe, you know, you were in between breaks or something. Whatever. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? There's no point in putting a pig with a thoroughbred. But anyway, so he can't sit there and say that the negatives were basically outweighing the positives. They weren't. He let it outweigh it. He let that shit weigh down on him. I'm sure Kat didn't care. It's on his Instagram, not hers. She doesn't have an Instagram. She doesn't have any social media, or at least none that she's using. So what the fuck does she care about what a bunch of people online have to say anyway? Isn't that what you're supposed to be protecting her from, Phil? I don't know, Phil. You sound like some little drama queen bitch to me. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like that shit affected you more than it affected her. Hence the reason why you have thought-ass pictures of yourself with your wedding ring up on Instagram and on Twitter and shit, and she don't. Just saying. DSP News.
Anything. I said this on the pre-stream, and I'll actually say this in this video as well. Contributions are much appreciated and incredibly helpful, but they're not expected. No! I would think that if you support me and you like what I do, you're
If that was the case, then why did you even bring all that up? God damn, you're a strange looking dude. Anyway, if that was the case, then why'd you bring all that up? Yet again, Phil. God damn, he must really think his fan base is stupid.
Still gonna fucking pay my bills. Ren Jesse James, wow, tip me $50. Thank you, Ren Jesse James. Wow, another very generous tip. He says, I'm really salty you didn't invite me, a random internet stranger, to your ceremony. However, congrats, I finally got a job. Here's a little wedding present. May all the detractors and haters develop horrible, nightmarish. I'm not reading that. That's messed up. Omnipotent, Mr. Dr. Profusi Cheers says, did you have a crazy bachelor party with your dad and friends? We'll talk about that. And the answer is no. That's stupid. My whole life, my mom...
It's stupid to have a bachelor party? It's stupid to have your father pass on some life advice to you? Not that your father's done well by you up to this point anyway. I'm sorry. I mean, I might be a dick for that, but I'm going to say it because fuck it. Your father didn't actually do right by you. In turn, is the reason why you failed him. You're like the worst version of an Anakin. You're like the worst version of Luke Skywalker. Like, you really are. Like, you didn't do shit with your life. You really didn't. Hence the reason why you're 37 and your parents are bailing you out now. I mean, and then, even then I'm making assumptions that your father didn't pass on some type of knowledge to you. But it doesn't matter because you didn't listen to it, so you still fucked up. It still kind of falls on him. Like, you had one simple thing to do. Do whatever it is that you consider that is entertaining and save your money. You couldn't do that. Your father had a bunch of jobs to do, to be honest. Especially since the guy has 3 herniated discs in his back. Severely herniated discs. I should probably give your father a little bit more leeway. His only son's a fuck up. I guess that actually hurts enough. I guess I don't need to go any further with that rant. I mean, he's gonna live with the idea that his only son is an absolute fucking moron and is useless and can't do a goddamn thing. He can't entertain people. He can barely play a video game right. The guy can't even use a screwdriver. Jesus Christ. If any of you out there who are parents, you guys kind of already understand where I'm going with this. I guess I don't need to take any more pop shots at David Burnell because his son's already a fuck up. And he has to kind of live with that already. And maybe that's punishment enough. DSP News
has pressured me to commit and get married my whole fucking life. She's like, are you gonna get married? Are you gonna get married? That's just how she is. She's an old school traditional person. She grew up in a different generation where it was like...
That's what he was running from too, by the way. I think he was running from his mother. I think that's the reason why he wanted to get out of Connecticut so bad. Because there's no reason why he couldn't have just moved to a different part of Connecticut. There's no reason why he couldn't have moved to New York. There's no reason why he couldn't have moved to the Midwest. Or further down south, or further down the East Coast. But he chose to move across the goddamn country and had no intention of going back. He had no intention of going back until his parents died. He was running from something, and I'm starting to think it was mommy. I'm starting to think Mommy Burnell was the real reason why he was running.
You don't get married, something's wrong. Why didn't you get married, right? And to see me, I'm in my late 30s now.
And if your mother's so traditional and everything, she's probably going to be like, well, when's she going to get grandkids? You ever think about that, idiot? No? Okay. I just thought I mean, like I said in the last broadcast, if you're going to pork her, it's a fair assumption that piglets are going to come out eventually. I would assume, your mother has all these cats, no pun intended, has all these cats running around waiting for maybe some grandkids. Just saying. Oh boy.
I wasn't married or whatever, and my mom's like, what's going on? And so, now that I'm with Kat.
That's right. Italian moms.
You're absolutely right. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing in Italian families to get married and have the family and all of that. So, fuck your mother. Late 30s and not married or whatever. So awesome.
Well, maybe if you stopped obsessing over John, that might not be an issue. Whatever.
Kat, and I have been together and having such a great life together here. Fuck you, Jake. To the point where we were, outside of any pressure from my mom or my parents, we were already having the conversation behind the scenes about, do we want to get engaged, right? We probably can't get married, but, you know, do we want to get engaged? By the way, this all happened...
What's the point of getting engaged if you're not going to get married, idiot? This is why you asking Panda to marry you, and as you said later on, was really just a band-aid for the relationship, was stupid. You shouldn't have even bothered with it. You did it because you couldn't afford to lose her at the time. But then again, and I'm pretty confident of that, because between the space that Panda ended up leaving and then Kat started to seriously start coming into the picture, kind of proves that already. And you still fucked that up. Jesus Christ, Phil. You couldn't keep one naive chick to pull another naive chick into the picture? You couldn't pull that off? Wow. For shame, sir. For shame. I'll say sadly, you have 2 weak women and you couldn't manipulate both of them at the same time? Jesus Christ. So sad, Phil. So sad. But yet, you can manipulate all these kids to give you money. Truly, truly a children's entertainer. DSP News?
Last year. Long fucking time ago. Alright, I'm not going to tell you the specifics of when or whatever, but basically all this discussion happened last year. Kat had been living with me for a while.
And that goes back to what I had said. He's not going to establish the timeline. He's not. Because then everything falls apart and he knows it. Because, let's be honest, she's already locked in. They're already married. What are you hiding? Seriously, what are you hiding? Just go ahead and let it fly. But he don't want to, though, because then somehow, some way, Panda's going to get thrown back into the lore. And he doesn't want that. Imagine you living a decade of your life online for profit. That's what it is at the end of the day. It was for profit. And now the ex-girlfriend who and this is just my theory, of course, so just kind of go along with that. The ex-girlfriend who found out you were sneaking around, not creeping because you ain't slick like that, but was creeping, that you were kind of pigging around or sloshing around with behind her back. She ends up finding out you're pulling this off, right? That he's sitting there pulling some bullshit behind her back. She ends up finding another man, a better man, of course, ends up playing the game with that shit. You get butthurt, but you can't do anything. She cucks you for the next couple of months to use your car to go to and from work and go visit with this dude while you're still with your little girlfriend behind the scenes, texting and all that dumb shit, until she ends up having an anxiety attack because she probably had conflicted feelings about the situation because some part of her still wanted you, for what reason none of us will ever know. you, instead, in the one time you could have shown this girl some sympathy, that you could have proven her right, that maybe you were worth a damn, you fuck her over by bitching and complaining that you had to go and pick her up because you were still on her contact list. Tevin's gone through this, praise be almighty. You were still on her contact list, so you were forced to go and get her, and then you come home, you let her get you. Oh my god, I don't even want to go through all the bullshit. The main takeaway from the whole emergency situation, you should definitely watch El Crimson King's rendition of it. It's amazing. If I remember to, I'll link it down in the description. Check that out. The major takeaway is of that whole situation was, one, they gave you the bill before they even really treated you. That's one. Two, you guys wasted 2.5, 3 hours of our time because you didn't really do anything for her. If you guys were just going to give her a pill, you should have just given her a pill and left her somewhere. That was great. And three, and one of the major takeaways, next time she has a situation like this, you do not have our permission to take her to the hospital. No, you don't. No, you will leave her there. You will give her a pill and leave her where you found her. You will not take her to the hospital. Fuck that. No. That's the major takeaway of the emergency shit. That's what that's what that shit was. Then you come home and you sit there and you get on and you do a podcast, not even a podcast. He makes a video about it for an hour, ranting about the whole situation and how it fucked up his day. The one chance that he had to redeem himself, he fucked that all up, and then Panda's gone not long after that. And then he tried to play victim later on in the year. Well, no, he tried to play victim a couple months later which is what leads into into the war dog leader situation. And then he he milks that shit for everything it's worth at the end of the year to try to get Kat to come move in with him. Not even to get her to move in. So he had the money to move her across states, from the Midwest to where he's at, to move her in. That essentially explains all of that shit. How the fuck? Like, you can't tell me he's not a fuck up on that. Not only is he just a miserable piece of shit of a person, but you can't tell me he's not a fuck up for that. Jesus Christ. And people still want to believe in you. I don't understand. It's amusing. At first I used to be just baffled by it, and now it's just amusing. But because it's those same people that are the ones that are dropping rank left and right. It's amazing how people will fight for you for years. And then a situation like this comes up and then everybody want to break rank. It makes me wonder, maybe they weren't that loyal. I mean, not that they had a reason to. It's not like you're loyal to them. But it makes me seem like they weren't that loyal in the first place. Just saying.
We were going together perfectly. Our lives were so much dramatically improved, and we had gotten settled in. And Kat had gotten settled in with a job and everything. Everything was going good for a while. And we said, let's get engaged. One day we were out. It was one of our days out, and we were, I believe, at the local mall. Yeah, it was the local mall. And for a little bit, we had been looking at engagement rings because we were curious.
Wait, so like, doesn't Panda still work at the mall? I don't know if she does or not. I can't remember. But if she does, like, did you... You know what? Let me leave that alone. That's kind of a low blow on my end. I'll leave that alone.
Gee, what are engagement rings? What? And the bottom line is engagement rings, depending on what you get, could be dirt cheap. I'm talking under $100.
And here you go. Here's another thing too. I like how he moved his eye over that way. That's weird. Anyway, it's funny how another piece of this podcast that you can take away is he kept pig-splaining how much money was being spent. It wasn't your money, Phil. You already admitted in part 2 of your podcast, and you basically reiterated it in part 3, that it was mommy's money. So what do you care what was spent and what wasn't, or how much all of it was? It was mommy's money. Secondly, either A, you're trying to tell us that mommy's broke, or B, you're really, really scared of what the detractors are going to find on you. It's bad enough Tevin's living rent-free in your head, but now you too scared to pay the rent too? Jesus, Phil.
Life-changingly expensive, like tens of thousands of dollars. Now, I just want to say something. All right? If you have that kind of crazy-ass money to go nuts and go spend thousands of dollars on a ring, go ahead. And there's these ridiculously stupid fucking things I've heard. Oh, it's expected that when you get your engagement ring, the cost of the ring should be about 2 to 3 months' salary for the male. Fuck you. Who the fuck are you to make that kind of a crazy-ass thing? Oh, that's a rule. So yeah, I'm going to spend a quarter of my money this year on a fucking ring. A ring...
I mean, you were going to spend that on food anyway. At least the diamond would last a little longer than anything else in that house. I mean, yeah, Phil, you're going to have... Well, maybe I'm wrong, Phil. Maybe if Kat got caught gout too, you know, they say a diamond lasts forever. So does gout. There's no cure for it. Maybe you're right, Phil. Maybe you're right. Why give a girl a diamond when you can just give her gout?
Could fall off the finger and go down a drain. A ring that the gem that cost thousands of dollars could pop out and roll into a gutter. Are you fucking stupid? You're the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. You're gonna spend insane amounts of money on a fucking ring. A thing that's just, it's not even the love. It's a symbol, right? A representation. It's not your love that you have to drop that money on. It's just nuts to me.
Well, what's nuts is, Phil, is that you sat there, you're sitting there shitting on a tradition that's been around longer than your family's probably been in existence. And you're really doing it all on the principle of money that you would have to spend. That's not even your money. That was mommy's money. Holy fuck, Phil, you're so greedy. You're so fucking greedy. You really are. He went on a 30-second rant, might be a minute, rant about what people think about engagement rings and so on and so forth, because he didn't want to put the money down for it, which wasn't even his money. It was mommy's money. But he's sitting here getting mad about that shit. Like, this fucker knows what love is anyway. Let's be honest. And take this however which way you want to take this. But if in my time of really covering Phil, the only thing that Phil's ever given a fuck about is food. That's it. Food and John. Those are the only two goddamn things he ever really cared about. Period. He doesn't give a shit about anything else. It's food and John, nothing else. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch Tevin's go back and watch Tevin's Back in Times and watch Phil's retrospective events. Don't watch it through Phil though. Watch it through Tevin. Watch those retrospective events and shit. And look at how his eyes and his face lights up when John comes on the screen. Or when food is presented on the screen. And then look at everything else. It's just miserable. Just miserable. Bet it.
Fuck you. And by the way, Cat agrees with me. We're like, that people will go crazy with this shit.
Just to give you guys some fucking perspective.
Well, Cat does have a better man on the side anyway. I mean, he's probably just looking at the ring and just like, all right, drop him. I mean, she's gonna drop the panties regardless. So what the fuck she give a shit about a ring? So you're right, Phil. A ring doesn't mean anything. It's not an expression of love. You're right. That's why Jim didn't have to put a ring on her. And he loves her down pretty good. I mean, I'm sure you know about that. I'm not saying that you've tasted anything, but I'm sure you know about that.
Over the years that I've been a content creator, in particular, I'd say about 3-4 years ago, people just have gone nuts with the shit they've done. They've called my relatives, they've called former businesses that I worked for, they've called the schools that I went to school to, they've called news agencies, they've called restaurants, they've called all these places and harassed the fuck out of people, my relatives, or said stuff about me or done shit. They actually contacted former businesses that I had associations with, to say nasty stuff about me. They have...
I mean, they were former business associates. Who cares? It's not like you were going to go back anyway. They served their purpose and you discarded them. Or they discarded you. So outside of you treating everything like your former job, which after being fired 5 or 6 years ago or however long it was, and you still ranting about that dumb shit, what do you care? To be honest. You're in your personal little hug box on Twitch that no one can touch you on. Fuck you give a shit about some former businesses that you may have been associated with that you were probably ripping off in the first place. Just saying.
Me up for endless amounts of stuff that I never agreed to, that I then had to try to get out of, just because they know basic information about me, like my name and address and phone number.
All information that he put out, by the way.
I constantly get pranked with tons of nasty shit here at my house, whether it's, stupid stuff. I'm not even gonna I don't want to get into the details of it. This is gonna give people...
Can't even give you an example. Too scared to give you an example because he's afraid someone's going to replicate it.
More ideas to do it, okay? The insane amount of junk mail that I receive on a daily basis. If I don't empty out my mailbox out here, that mailbox is full. So every day, that's how much mail I get. I have to empty my mailbox. If I go 2 days, the mailman can't leave mail because they've signed me up for so many garbage publications and solicitations that I can't even, I have to empty my mailbox.
You told us about that in like 2017, and yet you are either too lazy or too stupid or both to call and get them to cancel it. That's how smart Phil Burnell is. Oh, here, let me also tell you how smart Phil is and whatnot. Because I'm not gonna get I'm not gonna get that third screwdriver. I think I'm good at 2. So Phil here, the genius here, he was trying to sell his house, right, or his condo. Sorry, he was trying to sell his condo, yeah, and found a place that was gonna do it, that'd be willing to do it, and all he had to do was make his phone available so the guy could call him for basic information, and so they could go back and forth, and he could give some feedback. Phil doesn't want to do that. Phil's like, no, you email me. Don't call me, email me. That's how Phil wanted to conduct business. The guy calls him once, because emailing you is a fucking dumbass idea. You know what I'm saying? It's better to be able to speak on this. And Phil just gives up on the whole situation because the guy called him once. To sell his condo that he can't afford, that is a physical, mental, and financial drain on him. His words, not mine. Because the guy called him. And he got mad because he told the guy not to call him, to email him. And you know how Phil is with emails. Phil has a whole new, I don't know who the guy was. Gaming Global or Gamer Global. I'm not sure. But someone ended up doing a whole new layout for Phil. Brand new banners, whole new B-roll for his Twitch, the whole nine. The guy did pretty good work. Phil, now we don't know exactly how long it was that this guy sent it to him. Let's say a couple weeks. Phil has been sitting on that shit for the last couple weeks because he didn't want to go through his emails because, 1, he's scared, and 2, he probably had to get somebody to screen it, to screen all this stuff, to make sure there wasn't any troll art or anything in it. That's how paranoid he is. That's how self-imposed paranoia at that. He's not dealing with shit like wings and having fucking, you know, escorts sent to his house or mechanics and shit. He's self-imposed this paranoia on himself and then is mad about it. So now you have someone who put all this time and work into this thing for you. For possibly weeks he's been waiting for you to respond, and all of a sudden you just find out. And then Phil says some really egregious shit, saying that, just because I see your, I saw you, most of you guys' emails, just because I didn't respond to you doesn't mean I didn't see it. Well, that's why you respond back, to let them know. He doesn't value anything or anybody. He really don't. Who knows what else is in his inbox or in his spam that he's too scared to look at? Who knows how many different artists before this individual sent him stuff and Phil just didn't go through it because he's too scared. The idiot's too scared to look at his email unless it has something to do with money. And yet people still feel that this piece of shit is worthy. That he is worthy of their time, of their effort, of their dedication. Aspects and attributes that he himself doesn't even have. I'll never know. I'll just never know.
Every day. Okay? I've been swatted. That, you know, to the point where when I first moved here, I notified my local police department, I'm a streamer, there's a chance that I may get swatted, and I was swatted. But not only that, other people, people I never talked about have been swatted. And behind the scenes and stuff, family members of mine were swatted. For no reason. Because I never even publicly talked about it. So, you know, that's why I'm not going to give attention to it. But they were swatted, and they have nothing to do with me. Because of me. Because they're related to me.
So wait, so you'll keep bitching and complaining about you getting swatted, but you won't say that, oh, my mother got swatted? I mean, isn't that a bit more egregious than you? If we're looking outside of ourselves, isn't your family members getting swatted kind of fucked up? Isn't that worth saying? That, hey, I know what you guys did to terrorize my family and that won't stand? No, you'll only keep harping about yourself because it only happened to you. It never happened to them. Let's be honest. That's why people in your own fan base are asking for evidence and you can't provide. And that's why you call them idiots, because they won't take your word at face value. Because guess what, pumpkin? Your word don't mean shit. It has no value. And you know that. That's why when you put your opinion out there online and you get shitted on for it and clowned, you get butthurt. And then that's when we get 3 or 4 a.m. tweets, gen-fueled, of course, because no one will take you seriously. And you can barely take yourself seriously. That's why you have to get drunk every night. Or every other night. Is that the only thing to make the pain go away, Phil? Is that what it is? Did Daddy teach you that? Is that what you end up inheriting from Daddy Burnell? A drinking habit? I like to think not, because he can get up and go to work every day. I don't know.
Swatted. And I knew that if I gave any information that, number one, I was getting married, or number two, the specifics of where I was going to be on what day, that there was potential that people could do this fucking stuff to me, right? Can you imagine? Oh yeah, today we're going to the zoo. And then we go to the zoo and the police show up because someone swatted the zoo. You know what I mean? Like, that was a genuine... For anyone else on the planet Earth, that's like silly, that's ridiculous, that's silly, Phil. For me, that's actually a genuine concern.
You know, I can't do...
We're getting swatted because we're going to get swatted at the zoo. Damn, does Sidella hate North American apes that much? Really? That's a shame. Speaking of which, Sidella, hope you're doing well. And tell your mom that I'll be seeing her next weekend. Because you know how much I love my milk and cookies. But, wow, Phil. Oh, are you going to tell them about the gorilla feces that you allegedly got sent to your house, Phil? No? I don't know, man. I'm very confused. We're going to start swatting zoos now. That's what we're going to do. What happened to Harambe wasn't enough. We have to get him. We got to get Harambe twice. We're going for his whole family this time around. We got to get all of them. Who says stupid shit like this? No, I'm trying to be serious now. Who says dumb shit like this? Oh, I can't go to a public zoo because they're going to swat the zoo. Really? Really? Phil, there's a better chance that you're going to end up getting swatted at your local pizza place than the zoo. The fucking zoo. Holy shit. Oh, man. The fucking zoo.
This shit. It's so fucked up how fucked up my fucking life is because of these fucking degenerates and the shit that they've done to me over the years. So this is a genuine fucking
But I thought you
concern.
and Kat have a great life with each other. I thought your life is great and shit. It don't sound like it's very great at all. To be honest, it sounds to me that the love that allegedly Kat has for you isn't really enough to outweigh the negatives in your life. Kind of like that wedding post, Phil. Kind of like that wedding post.
Some people think it's funny. It's not. It's not funny. Because of some shithead piece of immoral garbage, a morally decrepit, toxic turd that draws breath and sucks the air off the planet where other valid, fucking morally, good people want to live.
What the fuck do you know about values, and what the fuck do you know about being a good person, Phil? You know, those are two things that shouldn't even come out of your mouth. You know what I'm saying? You don't know anything about anything when it comes to any of that. So what the fuck do you know? Like I said, I can run down the laundry list of shit that you've done to people. The threats you've thrown out to people. Wishing death on people. And you're getting mad because, what? Someone was going to allegedly, in the deep, dark crevices of your mind, and shit, that someone's going to swat a zoo because that's how bad they need to get at Dark Side fucking Phil. Are you fucking insane? The zoo. The fucking zoo. A zoo, by the way, that you sound really, really enthusiastic about when it came to the petting aspect of that zoo. The fuck are you at your age giving a fuck about a petting zoo for, and you don't have kids? Going to a zoo is one thing. I don't know. I like going to the aquarium personally, but that's just me. But going to the fucking petting zoo? Jesus Christ, do you miss your rabbit that much? Do you? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to put a PSA out to Theo and to Chloe. Theo, please be careful. Please be careful and keep Chloe safe. Is it Chloe? It's Cleo. Oh, fuck. You guys know what I meant. Keep the rabbit safe. Because apparently Phil hasn't gotten over his own little pet bunny. His pet bunny, sorry. And the nonsense that entails. Jesus Christ, a petting zoo, dude? We 37 and we hitting up the petting zoo? That's what we doing? With no kids? Seems a bit awkward, I would think. Maybe going past the petting zoo is one thing, but you actually talked about going to the petting zoo and having a good time with that. Like you've never seen a cow or a goat or anything. Oh, well, you have, Phil. They've been on your plate. That's how you got gout in the first place. Jesus Christ. God damn. Matter of fact, Phil, I'm going to be a dick because that's what I do. What's cooked rabbit taste like, Phil? Might have cut you a little deep there. I'm sorry, Phil. My bad.
Could actually hurt me like this.
I mean, who was it? Was it Ice Poseidon that went to an airport and was live streaming from the airport on Twitch, and basically they swatted him because of that, and that got him banned from Twitch permanently?
You don't know shit about shit. First things first. One, how did you even hear about that when you don't watch other people? That's the first thing. Second thing is, yet again, Mighty D's right. You only give a shit about stuff that could cause you to lose your fucking Twitch channel, which is laughable at best. Third, do you know how many times Ice Poseidon has been swatted? Now, someone who has a real reason to be scared of anything is Ice Poseidon. I saw this dude get swatted at a fucking therapy session. He was going to therapy, and he got swatted in the doctor's office. In the therapist's office, I should say. He got swatted. That shit was insane. There's a compilation out there somewhere on YouTube where it shows like all the different places that he's been swatted. He's been swatted at a shitload of places. You worried about Twitch. This dude really could have gotten fucked up. Your priorities are off kilter, Phil. They really are. You worrying about where someone got swatted, or getting swatted in an airport because he lost his Twitch channel, or which caused him, I should say, I'm sorry, to lose his Twitch channel is irrelevant compared to the situations that dude's really gotten, really could have gotten killed in. Not even hurt, could have gotten killed. And then the irony is that when it came to Ice Poseidon recently, when he was being compared to Wings and DSP, he shitted on Wings over DSP, which makes no sense to me, except for the fact that I think Ice Poseidon has been on PKA, so he would probably be a little bit more familiar with Wings over DSP. I would think. But DSP is way more infamous, so I know he knows who DSP is. So the fact that, I mean, and I will say this for the record, Ice Poseidon did apologize to Wings, but the fact that you still sided with DSP over Wings, oh boy, people need to get their priorities together.
You can't put this shit past these people. You can't. Okay?
I had to take incredible precautions to make sure that no one knew anything about where I was. Okay? And it worked. And it was very difficult and stressful, and it was very tough to do this. All right? But it paid off.
Slow smoked turkey breast, you know, with delicious cheddar cheese and hand mixed garlic aioli mayo on a delicious hoagie roll. $40 a person to get internet on this flight. $40 a person for 5 hours of internet? That's $8 an hour. This is a cat, I'm exaggerating.
What did you need internet on the plane for anyway? I didn't really get that part. Like, I mean, were you really trying to monitor Kiwi Farms and Twitter that bad? Like, was it really that important? Were you watching, like, a Mighty D video when you were on the plane? Is that what you were doing? Did you have to see what was going on? Did you check out and see what Memology was doing? Lightside Bill? Snort Burnell? Tevin? That's a quick way to go ahead and get through 5 hours. I'm just saying, honestly. But why would you pay for that anyway? You're a fucking idiot. You're getting ready to marry this woman and spend the rest of your short-ass life with her. And you couldn't even talk to her on a plane for 5 hours?
The cat's nice and you're petting it purrs, then turns fucking scratches your hand for no reason. And Cat's eating a pizza and you can see her eyes are lighting up. And she's eating this pizza. Now normally she doesn't eat a lot. She's like, I want more. She's eating more pizza. Go ahead, we got the pizza area. We ate almost the whole pizza.
Look at how excited he is about food, dude. Don't get me wrong, I love food too. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. If you've been around long enough, you know how I get down with that shit. But goddamn, dude. Like, there's a time and place for this shit. It's the only thing he values. Food and John. That's it. Doesn't give a shit about nothing else.
It's layers of cake.
Oh, and money.
Sponge-type cake that absorbs.
Very simple. So the whole wedding that Phil scammed his viewers to raise thousands of dollars for, we had a ceremony at my parents' house that cost nothing, and we went to a nice dinner that my parents paid for that was, you know, at a local Italian restaurant, and that was the whole thing. So I'm sure that cost thousands of dollars.
What? Uh-oh, you're lying there, Phil. We're missing some stuff. Okay, can't let the horse lover off the hook too quickly. They paid for your whole trip there. First off, Phil, hotel, the rent-a-car eventually you end up getting, the money that was actually in your pocket and whatnot, so you could go and eat out every night, which is what you did. You didn't even eat at your parents' house while you were there, because you would have mentioned what she made you, your mother, and you didn't. So it makes me assume that what she cooked wasn't very good, meaning that it must have been something Polish, or you ate out every night with Kat, which is what I'm assuming you actually did, or every day I should say with her. So they paid for all that too. They paid for a lot of shit. It wasn't just that little rinky-dink excuse of a wedding and whatnot. They paid for everything. All the money that was in your pocket, your taxes, the hotel, the rent-a-car, everything. Your parents literally covered everything. That would equate to thousands of dollars, Phil. I'm sorry. You can try to talk that shit down all you want, but that's essentially what happened.
Fucking idiots that say these conspiracy theories on the internet are so insanely stupid. So we went that night to.
Now keep in mind, conspiracy theory, yeah. But this is the idiot who sat there and lied for 2 months, like a thought, saying that he was so lonely and how he had to adjust to being single and shit, and he had no emotional support, this, that, and the third. And in actuality, he had a chick in the background the whole fucking time. First thing with conspiracy theory. This is the same idiot who was forced to reveal this girlfriend to us because of the escort situation, and I hold this theory. I was actually going to wait until I went over the Medicare video, but I'll let some of that out now. I think, I can't prove it, and I'll be transparent about that. I can't prove it. But something tells me that Brenda and her husband may have actually gotten a little bit of money out of Phil. I don't know how much. Could have been just a couple thousand. But I feel like I feel like they ended up actually catching a little bit of money out of him. Hence the reason why they stopped the attack for a little while. Phil started talking shit, and then they ended up getting back on. Now, most of you are like, well, that doesn't really make too much sense. Well, let's put it this way. If someone was trying to extort you for money, trying to blackmail for you for money, right? And then all of a sudden, behind the scenes, real quiet, like secrets, if you will, secretively, you ended up paying them some money, you expect them to go away. And maybe they did. And then Phil started talking shit again, and then they were like, well, he ain't paid once, he'll pay again. Which is, to be honest, something common with people who get blackmailed. If someone's blackmailing you, don't pay anything. Whatever it is, just take the hit, to be honest. Because if not, what's to say they're not going to come back? More often than not, they will. If you've paid once, they'll pay again. Same thing with, that's one of the fundamental reasons why people don't want to pay ransoms. Because if you pay the ransom, then you'll end up having to pay it again. That's the reason why a lot of people have the stance that you don't negotiate with terrorists. Same concept. So it's not completely out of the question, though I have no proof of any of this, that Phil may have thrown some money out to make it go away. And then he talked his shit, as Phil is going to. Or they just decided, maybe he didn't even need to talk the shit. Maybe that wasn't what prompted them. Maybe they were just like, fuck it, we can probably get a couple $1,000 more out of him. You know, as a farewell, if you will. You know what I'm saying? From somewhere in Europe with love, if you will. And they took a shot at it, and they overshot.
Post up pictures of the wedding, and I knew it. I said to Cass, you know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have a 50-50 split. You're going to have half the people are going to be shocked and happy, and half the people are going to be shocked and immediately just be toxic, disgusting, immoral people on our wedding post with nasty stuff about me being a bad person and I robbed money and all that, even though none of this is true. And this whole trip,
and yet again, about that whole wedding post and this whole marriage being a shield, none of that affects her. It affects you. To be honest, none of those posts had anything to say about her. It was about you. So, instinctively, if we use a little bit of logic here, who's going to be the one that's most affected about the posts, or posts, if you will? The person who's mentioned in it. What's Kat have to lose? She's not on social media anyway, by your design, by the way. So, she's not losing any sleep over that shit. Same reason why I think she, even though I admit, because I said it, that she seems obsessed with the chat the couple times she's been on, she was probably more fascinated with what they were saying, more than it let her hurt her. You were the one who were getting hurt by it. Hence the reason why you had to micromanage that shit, which ended up blowing up in your face in October. Just my opinion, of course.
You know, this is what they're going to say, so just expect it. And that's exactly what fucking happened. I posted it up. It was 50-50. So, and some people are like, you know, why does Phil spend time, you know, editing posts and stuff? Because it's very simple. It is our wedding post, and that's something that probably in years we'll go back and look at. And we don't want nasty shit on there, you know. So we did. I'm sure by now there is, because it was like 2 days I would go back and check it and delete the nonsense. I'm sure by now it's flooded with the nonsense again. But at least for about a day or two, it was nice. And there was a nice viewer and reaction, positive reaction to it, and we appreciated that very much. Sadly, I hate to say it, 50% of the people who knew that we got...
So you're gonna let people online bother you like that? I mean, these are... Jesus Christ, look at you. Holy fuck. I didn't even mean for this to happen, but we gotta blow this up. Look at this. Look at that. Have you been drinking gin through this? I thought I was the only one drinking during this broadcast. Jesus Christ, look at you. Sloppy, sir. Sloppy. And I'm someone who believes in the 3-to-1 ratio when it comes to a screwdriver, dude. I'm all about my vodka game. Kinda, sorta. But geez, look at you. You look sloppy, sir. Sloppy. God damn. I'm already fucking the game up. Jesus. But yeah, you shouldn't have let that bother you. The fact that held power over you is kind of sad, Phil. You might need to get off the internet. I'm just saying, at least for a little while. Because it's not like you can do anything else with your life. So you might just want to step away from the internet for a little while. You ever thought about that? Except for the fact that you thrive off all this. And the thing is if you already talked to Kat about there was going to be a 50-50 split, why are you surprised? You knew the negativity was going to come. Nothing. You've never done anything in your life that's positive. To be honest. So what else did you expect? If you're a negative person who has a track record of doing negative shit, where's anything that's supposed to be positive supposed to come into play in any of that? Last time I checked, Phil, 10% of nothing is still nothing. Sorry. Not really. I'm not sorry.
Were very supportive and happy and wanted to keep seeing me post up stuff. 50% of the people were just being complete negative assholes and just being really scumbags to us and insulting us constantly. So, like, I posted up a picture of Wahlburgers. And it
wasn't really, like I said, I mean, even though you guys are married, so theoretically you're supposed to be a unit. I'm glad you're starting to come into play on that one. Theoretically, it was all targeted towards you. And yet again, the negativity really comes down to the fact of, what the fuck, Phil? Or, damn it, Phil, why didn't you say anything? Hey, Phil, where's the money at? I don't think that's really negative. Those are questions that you're addressing right now. Can't be that negative if you're choosing to address all that right now, right? You thought just because it was your wedding you were going to get a pass on that? Even though you went and sat there and lied to these kids for God knows how long? And people who really trusted you and had faith in you? Which was stupid anyway, so it is what it is on that. Oh, well.
And I'm like, yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen one of these. Anyone heard if it's any good? And some people are like, nah, it's overpriced, don't go there. And other people are like, you have money, you scam people, you're going to spend it on burgers. And it's like, I knew it. From then on, anything I posted for the rest of the trip was just going to be negative shit from assholes.
It's funny how you knew all of this and yet you still let it happen. It's funny how he has all this precedence and yet he's surprised and or upset that bad things happen, if you want to consider that bad. And the fuck are you doing eating burgers for anyway, Phil? You got gout. You better get a turkey burger or something. You better get a chicken sandwich.
Who just wanted to ruin our lives. So I was like, at this point, I'm not going to do too much more. Like, there's no point, right? You know, I have a lot of things that I agree with and I disagree with my parents. We are very different people. Very, very, very different people. If you met my parents, you'd be like, you're Phil's dad and mom. You know, they're not like me. So basically, it started all...
It's a pretty good thing they're not like you. The thing is, though, Phil, is when your father was 37 years old, did he have to go to his parents and beg them for money? I'm just curious. I mean, it's true, you guys are nothing alike. But I'm just wondering, when your father, at one time or another in life, came into a bad financial situation, which happens to most people, to be honest, did he man up and find the solution on his own, or did he have to go back on hand and knee and beg his parents for help? Just saying, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I have a problem with people who have to go to their parents for help. That's why your parents are there. There's a difference, though, between asking your parents for a couple $100 to kind of get you through to the next paycheck, or to help float you while maybe you're in between jobs or whatever the case may be, and then you making 6 figures a year for a number of years and still having to run to your parents years later when the fan base ain't dried up, when all the money ain't dried up, when the one woman who gave a fuck about you was gone and brought a new chick, probably pregnant, and asking for money. That's a little bit different, Phil. It's kind of like fuck-up type shit. It's funny how you keep shitting on your cousin for whatever her predicament is. And yet, in truth, you may be the bigger fuck-up out of the two.
Started off the conversation was that my mom wanted to pay for Kat and I to go on a honeymoon. But basically, I told
Well, why not? She already paid for everything else up to that point.
I said, like, I appreciate that. That's amazing. And quite frankly, I doubt Kat and I will ever be able to go on a honeymoon together.
Wait, so mommy, you're a fucking idiot. So mommy and daddy basically paid for you to get to where you're at right now. And I say that, let me actually get into that, okay? Because I got some metaphors for that shit. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil has not been, now has Phil been making 6 figures his whole YouTube career? No. Has he been making 6 figures for a number of years? Yeah, more than likely. His online career, I would assume he has. A few years. I'd say 3 to 5, a little more, a little less. Because as I said, Machinima's been overpaying him for a number of years. You add Twitch into that shit, it is what it is. He's definitely making 6 figures, if not close. Now, throughout those years that he was still making 6 figures, or almost, on YouTube, mommy and daddy was still giving him money. His words, not mine. They were still sending him money each month. They were still sending the guy birthday money and holiday money. And when he called and said that I'm in trouble, they sent him money. So basically, they were sending him an allowance. They were still giving him holiday and birthday money. And when he was in deep hog shit, he was still asking them for money. They've been basically carrying him on their back since the idiot left the house. And yet he wants to sit there, so, oh my God. Okay, let me get this right. Let's get this together. So they've been basically carrying that hog on their back pretty much since he left, right? Pretty much since he left. Then he gets into this tax situation. He wants to get married. They cover all of that. I've already talked about that. They've covered all of that. Now he's saying that, now his mom's saying that she wants to pay for a honeymoon, and why not? She ain't already paid for everything else. And Phil said that's going to be amazing because, excuse me, I don't think we're ever going to be able to have a honeymoon either which way. Why the hell would you even bring that up? It's very obvious that she realized you're a fuck up and you weren't going to ever be able to get married unless she paid for it. So, yeah, you weren't going to be able to ever go on a honeymoon unless she paid for it. Which is kind of the sad part. That someone who in 10 years probably made more money than his parents did the whole time they ever worked, right? If you think about it, he probably made his, oh my God, well, I don't know, Phil's dad probably had a really good job. I would say Phil probably made more money in 10 years than what his father made in at least 20. Maybe even 25. That's kind of ridiculous. So we'll say 20 years. We'll say, so he made double what his father made in a shorter amount of time, and yet he still was relying on his parents that whole time. And then he has the nerve to let it come out of his fucking snout that, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get, it's great that you're willing to pay for all that because we were never going to be able to go. We were never going to make that happen. He has no ambition whatsoever. And he's certainly not self-aware, because I would have never said that in front of my mother. I would have never said that in front of my parents. I would have never said that in front of anybody. You never admit something like that. You never admit that you're such a helpless, lazy piece of shit that you don't have enough drive to take your wife, your soulmate, lover and wife on a fucking honeymoon. You never admit that to anybody. You shouldn't even admit that to yourself. You should be able to dig deep and do what needs to be done to make stuff like that happen. People have done it with less. And this is how he reacts. And then people get mad at me because, oh, don't you think it's a little harsh by saying that he's his mother and father's worst mistake? Would you like me to pick another one? Would you like me to pick another one? Let's be honest for a minute. The ones that were swallowed before Phil probably would have been less of an embarrassment. Who would have cared if his mother swallowed one more? DSP News.
Being very honest, at this point, unless I get myself out of the financial rut I'm in, there was no way that I would be able to go. But I told her, being straight up honest with you, and this is Kat and I had talked about this previously, it's a no-go. We can't go on a honeymoon. I'm in a situation where I can't take time away from work. Already this week that I was away to be with my parents and for the wedding, already I had probably lost thousands of dollars that I would have made on the streams and the videos on YouTube. And that's money I need to pay my bills. And
wait, so keep in mind, he's only been gone for a week, 5 days, if you will. Like 5 or 6 days, whatever. He was gone for a week. And he lost thousands and thousands of dollars off stream and off YouTube. Despite the fact that he's constantly crying and complaining that YouTube ad revenue is super fucking low and he's barely making anything. And Twitch, when's the last time you saw Phil have thousands and thousands of dollars up there? Not since Emerald 7. And Tut. Which he doxed Tut, by the way. He doxed Tut. So, where's all the thousands and thousands of dollars from YouTube and Twitch coming from? If all of you who watch his content or watch his content through another medium of your choice don't even see that shit on screen. Sorry. I don't know.
I'm not in a financially feasible situation where I could take time away from work in a significant amount of time anytime soon. We're talking years now, probably, before I'll be in a better financial position where maybe I could do that. Number two, and I said this very honestly, and this involves you guys, okay? I said, I'll be honest with you, right now, I posted up pictures of the wedding yesterday, and I can already see the 50-50 split of the way that people have reacted. You got the 50% of the people who like what I do and love me and trust in me and believe that even though I needed all this help with taxes, that I did not come out here and spend
He
my
can barely even look at you. Well, he can barely even look at the camera. Like he looks at it and then his eyes immediately dart away. That's really sad for someone who only sits in front of a camera all fucking day. That he can't even lie properly. And he can't, well, he definitely can't lie properly, but he can't sell it. He can't sell it. And he's been doing it for all these years. Hence the reason why he needs to stop doing the face cam. You just need to give it up. It doesn't add anything to your content. It's kind of sad. It's watching a 37-year-old try to act like he's 17.
money and spend money on this trip. And then you got the other half of the people who just hate my guts and literally now are saying so many nasty things about Kat and I on our wedding day. And this is what I live with. This is the dichotomy that I live with in my life, that I have staunch supporters and people who just hate my guts. And I said, now, can you imagine? Let's say even in a year's time, can you imagine if I tried to go on a honeymoon when I'm probably still in a financial position where I need help on streams, people to be supportive or whatever?
I mean, why not? You took staycations when you said you're in financial situations. SOK went over that. It didn't stop you then. Why would it stop you now? It'll be another secret, Phil. You couldn't tell them that you were going out on a honeymoon because the detractors will fuck it all up. It's Tevin's fault, as you may or may not know, ladies and gentlemen. So who cares? What's the point? What's the point?
You know, with their contributions and all of that. And all of a sudden, oh, by the way, even though you guys, you know, you helped me out a lot with everything going on financially, I'm going to go on a vacation now. All expenses paid. Huh? You know, that doesn't jive. And I honestly, I wouldn't feel in good faith. I wouldn't feel okay with going on a vacation with Kat, even if it was paid for, with the situation back home. Here's the thing. When I
Wait,
visit,
you just did. You just did. So wait a second. So let's try to find a differential between the situation. So you don't feel comfortable going on a honeymoon knowing that you're in a bad financial situation, despite the fact that you were in a shitty situation, a shitty financial situation, and yet you took a week off to secretly get married and do everything that you did, despite the fact that it was paid for or not. You wouldn't go on a honeymoon if mommy and daddy didn't flip the bill on it because you feel so bad about your financial situation, despite the fact that you already just did it? You already have done it. But you're going to tell us you feel bad if you end up doing it again. Is that what you're saying? Because that's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. And it's kind of distasteful, too. It's really kind of telling the fan base to, you know what? I already fucked you guys once, so I'm not going to fuck you again. I'm going to consider throwing a condom on next time. So this way we can get around it a little bit. I'm going to try to add another layer of protection. Is that what this is? Jesus Christ, Phil. This is really bad. This is really bad. And why hasn't anybody in his fan base pointed this shit out? Like, this is just... It's... Oh. It's, this right here is Bernie Madoff if Bernie Madoff wasn't Bernie Madoff. If Bernie Madoff was your run-of-the-mill idiot, that's what this would be. That's exactly what it is. And the thing is you have a group of whistleblowers, just like in the actual Bernie Madoff case, who are trying to tell people he's fucking you guys over. I can prove when he's done that in the past, or I can at least reference it, and so on and so forth. Don't let him do this. And then everybody gets butthurt when they fucking got screwed over. That's literally what he is. He's the new Snort off, if you will. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. It's amazing. It's amazing the type of... I mean, I guess no one can ever question the sense of decency that people have. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. People give him money just because they think it hurts the detractors' feelings, I guess. There are people who do that. You know what I'm saying? You can find that on Kiwi Farms. A lot of them laugh about that shit all the time. Some of them actually participate in doing it. But Like, some people, like, I would say the majority of people who give Phil money aren't just trolls and haters and shit. They're people who actually believe in him. How many people around you do you need to see get shot? Sorry, let's reword that. How many people around you need to be shot? Or have you been forced to shoot until you realize what kind of individual he is? He doesn't give a fuck about none of you guys. He spews you the same bullshit every day about how everybody else around him is bad, from detractors to other content creators and so on and so forth. He sits there and explains why other people are popular because they went this route and he doesn't do that shit, despite the fact that he's tried to do some of that same stuff before and it wasn't successful for him. Because he couldn't sell it. Because he couldn't do it as well as they did. And that's why he's forced to being the way he is now. You're telling me that Phil hasn't tried doing reactions and shit? Of course he has. And they didn't do well. You're telling me Phil didn't try to play kitty-ass bullshit games? Of course he did. It didn't do well. You're telling me Phil didn't shit on fucking games and go back and play it? Look at Minecraft. He shit on that game for years and now he's sitting there talking about chill stream bullshit. Fuck out of here. When the fuck are people gonna wake up and see this shit for what it is?
Connecticut to see my parents. This is an important trip. Number one, we don't know what's going to happen with their health. At any moment, one of them could go, and then I'll never see them again. So this is a very important trip to spend time.
Oh, and that means something to you now? That means something to you now. When people ask you, hey, and I mean, way before this whole thing, when his parent nonsense came out, hey, Phil, man, when are you going to go back to Connecticut? I'm never going back to Connecticut. I'm never going back to Connecticut. Fuck Connecticut. You said that. But now all of a sudden, mommy and daddy might be sick, and all of a sudden you need to go back. All of a sudden, it's really important to go. Though when you were previously asked about it, you were like, you never showed any inkling of going back. And people are supposed to, and people are supposed to take you at your word that because mommy and daddy are sick, all of a sudden you give a fuck. People are supposed to actually believe that. Like, that makes any sense whatsoever. Like, any rational person who's ever watched you over any period of time couldn't see through that. It's cuckery. It's an amazing, it's like ultra instant cuckery. It is what it is. It's if Krillin ever turned, it's Krillin with a fucking receding hairline that's starting to get absolutely fucking ridiculous. And he had gout. And he fucked over everybody he knew on a daily basis. Just because. Claiming to be the strongest fighter out of the humans. Even though theoretically he is. I don't know, we'll have to have that talk sometime else. But theoretically Krillin is the strongest human out of the Z Warriors anyway. But at least allegedly. That's only because he got that boost from Guru on Namek. But whatever, sorry, I sidetracked on this shit. Anyway, it's like if Krillin was a piece of shit. If Krillin was an absolute piece of shit. Now, Krillin is a coward. I'll argue with any of you on that one. He is a coward. Or at least at times, anyway. But Jesus Christ, this is if Krillin was a piece of fucking shit. A pure piece of human fucking garbage. And he screwed over his boys on a regular basis and then had the nerve to be like, I've been here the whole time, guys. I helped. Apex Legends, when he's playing with Kekken and Brian, proved that. It's just like one of you guys said in the comment section, probably a few weeks ago when I did that video, but where Phil just hoards up all of the resources, and then he's the first one to die, and then he's the first one to squeal, hoping someone will come and res him just so he can die again, or get downed again, I should say. Jesus Christ.
Number two, this is our wedding. This is an opportunity for Kat and I to get married in a situation that's better than what we would have done here for ourselves, and to have a little bit of a special day where we can remember this.
Oh, and how so? Because mommy and daddy was paying for it? You telling me you couldn't go to the courthouse in Washington and get married, and then go to a restaurant and invite a couple of her friends? I mean, you did say that one of her friends watched your house, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, Phil, because it would almost imply that Kat actually brought people over before and you've met them. But how could that happen when you're working all the time? So you're telling me someone as paranoid as Phil is going to let a random person who he doesn't know come into his home and watch his house for 5 straight days. Even though, Phil, didn't you tell us that you had a house sitter that was supposed to be watching your house for you? And didn't you say before that there was going to be one of the neighbors that was going to be doing that shit? I don't know, Phil. The story kept changing. It's so hard to keep up. So that's what we're supposed to believe. You're telling me that he couldn't replicate this exact same shit at home, where he lives, without the burden, because what, his parents are too old to travel? It's funny how David has like 3 severely herniated discs in his back, but he can't fly. A 5-hour trip from Connecticut. Oh well, he would have to go to New York actually. From New York to Washington State, despite the fact he's done it before. Last time I checked, he had herniated discs then too. I don't know, Phil. This thing, shit ain't adding up. Shit just ain't adding up.
The rest of our lives, and doing it there made my parents so happy that they were there for my wedding. Are you kidding me? Like I said, my mom's been waiting for me to get married her whole life, and now finally, thank God, before she passes away, whenever that may be, knock on wood, hopefully not soon, I was there to be married, and she saw it in person. Okay, she was so ecstatically happy. I told her straight up front. I said, not possible. Honeymoon can't. You can promise us this, and I probably will never be able to take it. Okay, but you know my financial situation.
Your parents don't have to promise you shit. Like, what is up with you in this thing with promises or whatnot? I mean, you sound like a bitch who has. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. You sound like a bitch with trust issues. Now, keep in mind, anybody can be a bitch, so, take that for what you will, Phil. But that's what you sound like. Your parents don't have to promise you shit. If your parents say they want to go ahead and pay for a honeymoon, then more often than not, then a parent will do it. More than likely. It's on your schedule. If your parents die before that happens, for example, because that's the big thing you're pushing now, your parents are going to die any day now, whose fault is that? It wouldn't be theirs. They're dead. It's not necessarily their fault that their piece of shit son couldn't squeeze a week out of his fucking schedule that's allegedly so goddamn busy to go out or to go on a honeymoon so he can gorge himself and cause his fucking gout to flare up again. Just saying. Outside of the pool boy having his way with Kat, I don't see what exactly the negatives that are in all that situation, at all in that situation. So, huh? Oh boy.
And basically, I told her about everything that's been going on here over the last few weeks, how I'd been doing multiple marathon streams, how much money I had raised, and based off of what my tax guy had told me, here's what's left. And then, by the way, the tax guy is going to bill me this much for doing my taxes. He's going to bill me this much to try to get me on the payment plan. I basically gave her all the financials of everything. All right? And
now, first off, does any of that sound right to you? 2, do you really think he divulged all that shit in front of Kat? You really think he sat there and spewed out all of this in front of Kat, who probably has no real idea of what his financial situation is anyway? You're really, like, I expect him to have a private conversation with his mom on this shit. You probably wouldn't want to say this in front of your fiance, dude, that she's literally marrying into debt. I mean, let's be honest, she didn't have much beforehand anyway. As most people on Twitter like to bring up, she just has a criminal record. But she definitely didn't have much walking into this, if anything. She definitely doesn't need to be walking into this situation knowing that her fuck up of a husband, or soon to be, just has debt hanging over his head to the hilt, and it's going to take him 10 years to get it cleared up. It doesn't exactly sound very promising.
Sitting there, having this honest conversation, my mom said, well, here's the deal. She's like, I need you to commit to a fact that you're going to do some life changes in the short term and the long term, because you can't keep going like this. She looked at me and she's like, you're happy, but I can tell that you're running yourself ragged. I can tell that you are working yourself to the bone, Kat as well. And every time I call you, or every time we talk on the weekends, you tell me about how the whole week is work. You never tell me that you get to spend time with Kat, because you don't, right? And this is not...
Well, that's a lie. You spend 1 day a week with her running errands and stuff. That's how you guys spend time with each other. Your words, not mine.
Life that you're going to be able to live for your whole life. She's like, what are you going to do, when you're 50, 60 years old? And you think people are going to still want to tune into your stream all day long? I mean, yeah, maybe I could still do like a part-time stream, but no, who's going to want to sit watching a 60-year-old guy play video games all day, right? In addition to that, you know, you're killing yourself financially because you have all these situations going on with the finances behind the scenes of everything. You're killing yourself to even make ends meet and pay your bills. How are you going to, you can't. She's like, you've worked yourself to your limits. You can't keep going the way you're going. If you keep doing it, you're gonna have health problems. She says, look at us. Look at your father and me. You know, we are.
You know, to be perfectly honest with you, this is the first time I've come to this revelation, right? Praise be Almighty. Back in the day, if you guys have watched Tevin as far back as I have, I'm sure some of you have. If not, you should. His older material is great. He used to have this thing called DSP repellent, right? It was basically Bud Light. And before he actually started making other drinks later on, and he would do videos like this, or I wouldn't say I call it a broadcast, but he used to do videos like this. He have a couple of them through it to get himself through the shit. I can see why. I mean, don't get me wrong. I always thought he was funny as shit back then when he did it, so it made sense. But I understand now. I may have in some way taken it for granted. You know what I'm saying? That DSP repellent. I'm more of a Heineken person myself too, though. But I may have taken that for granted. I may have taken it for granted. I can understand why on some of those videos that Tevin would have a couple of those to kind of just get through the bullshit. Because this is absolute bullshit. It really fucking is. And to see Phil, even though I've already foretold this shit, you know what I'm saying? To see him exploit even his own parents in such a shameful manner, I don't think I even have words for it. I really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the silly type of shit that you can't put logic to this. You just can't. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, somewhere down the line, a sense of shame has to come into play, yeah? Maybe? Kinda? Like, come on, Phil, I know you watched this shit back for your ad revenue. You never really sat there and listened to what you said? Or do you just play it up to the point where the ad plays and then you just move on? What are you going to do, Phil, if one of your family members actually found this shit and watched it? Like, you ever thought about that? I mean, obviously you didn't. But, like, your parents have friends. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever happens if they ever ran across this shit? You have other relatives out there and shit. Just because you don't want to acknowledge them don't mean they're not dead. You know what I'm saying? They're still very much alive. Is that why you don't talk to them? Do they look at you as the family idiot? The one person who fucking got lucky, your words, not mine, and yet still figured out a way to fuck it all up? Systematically? You systematically figured out a way to fuck all this up. You had a gold mine, if you will. Not a diamond mine, but you had a gold mine, and you couldn't even... You fucked it up on your own. You made it... You had it collapse on itself. You went for gold chips instead of going for the larger veins that were in there. You had an opportunity... You had an opportunity to be swimming in actual bullion and shit, and you decided to go for short-lived gold dust. Shouts out to Secret Life. That's what you chose to do. Holy shit. Your whole life, Phil, you scrounged for dimes and nickels instead of trying to make sense and go for dollars. You did that your whole fucking life. And then you wonder why you're having to ask your parents to pay for a wedding. You're asking your parents to pay for your fucking taxes. This is what you're really doing. You're asking your parents to pay for you for the rest of their lives. That's what this really comes down to. You're going to hear that a lot in the next broadcast. That's really what he's doing. He's asking his parents to pay for him for the rest of his life. And whichever parent falls first, with all due respect, of course, whichever parent dies first, the next one's going to have to just pick up the burden. That's what Phil Burnell's legacy is going to be. He was too weak. He was too pathetic to do it on his own. And his parents carried him kicking and screaming until their last dying days. That's what this really comes down to. That's what he is. He has the nerve to criticize other people and criticize their money and criticize how they fucked up supposedly the business and this, that, and the third. Mr. I didn't pay business taxes or business and occupation tax for like 3 fucking plus years. But I could convince my stupid ex-girlfriend to do it. She somehow was able to make sure those checks were in the mail. But not me, though. I'm above all that. Shit, that bitch sold soap. The fuck? I provide a service. You know what I'm saying? I provide a service. All online based. I don't owe you guys money. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Conned a bunch of kids into paying that, and then had the nerve to turn around and say, oh, I didn't pay any taxes at all last year. So I need you guys to help me with that. Then convince mommy to pay for that on top of a wedding, and then has the nerve to come back and say, I don't owe you guys an apology. I don't owe you guys shit. What do I got to apologize for? I'm the one that's going through all the trouble. I'm the one that has all the problems. Shit, you guys need to be just giving me money for the wedding. You know what I'm saying? You guys are supposed to be happy for us. Just pay me money. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
60 years old and are having these health problems where we could go in any day. It's like, but you are in your 30s and you're telling us the stress and shit you're putting up with. And she even said to me, she says, you don't have to justify yourself to anyone. She says, understand that. You choose to do it. She's like, the work you're in.
Whoa. Sorry, Mommy Burnell, but he does have to justify himself. Because because the coward can't look the screen in the eye. If you have to beg and plead for money, if you have to beg, plead, and lie for money online because you're too lazy, too stupid to get a real job because what you're doing doesn't pay enough, or you're living outside of your means, then any dollar that you get needs to be justified. But see, Mommy Burnell doesn't know the whole situation if I had to guess. And that's why she came up to that conclusion. That's what it is. Your 37-year-old son begs for money. He's not a gamer. He's not a streamer. He's not a YouTuber. He's a beggar. That's what he does. He's probably been doing it his whole online career. All he did was go from begging for clicks and likes and shit to actually doing to real money. It was a natural progression. And he shitted on people who did it. He shitted on people who had Patreons. He has shitted on people who did this, that, and the third. And now look at him. He's doing it all himself. So yeah, he kind of does need to justify what he does. He kind of does. He already does. Because he already knows. He can talk that tough talk all he wants. But at the end of the day, he has no choice. Because guess what, Mommy Burnell? He's doing it right now. He's sitting here he's pig-splaining everything right now. Because what else can he do? No one will help him outside of that. He's a product of failure that I don't know if anybody will ever be able to top. And that's why, Phil, you're infamous. You're not famous. When people go back and look, no matter how many people you take offline, no matter how many videos you try to get removed or cleaned up, there will always be those couple hundred videos that show people what you really are. So in 10 years, it goes back to what I said before. In 10 years, you're just waiting for mommy and daddy to go ahead and leave to a better place, so you can collect that money. Because guess what, Phil? I'm confident you've come up to the very same conclusion that I came to. I don't know. I probably came to that conclusion probably right around this. You announced this whole trip shit in the first place. That mommy and daddy need to go because that's the only thing that's going to save you. That mommy and daddy need to check out permanently for you to save yourself. And I think you know that. I think you know that. Actually, I'm confident that you do. That's why you keep talking about this whole thing about mommy and daddy. They could go at any time. This, that. What child talks about that about their parents? That's the last thing I want to think about when it comes to my own parents. I know realistically it's going to happen, but I don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to think about it. But you seem to be perfectly fine with it. You apparently have made peace with it already. It sounds to me like you're almost hoping it happens soon. Now that's egregious, but you haven't really proved me wrong yet. You haven't proved anybody wrong. You've used everybody around you as a stepping stone. It would be only fair. It would not even be fair. Jesus Christ, let me take that back. It would be poetic, if you will. Machiavellian in a lot of ways, that mommy and daddy be the last stepping stone. That's why, because what child talks about their parents dying like that? I mean, outside the ones who actually end up offing their parents themselves. Yeesh.
A public persona, you choose to force yourself to justify to thousands of people. Just you should have been able to come out here to Connecticut, have a nice week with your wife, get married, and go home and not have to do a special event when you go home to explain the situation and people, oh, they're scamming, these assholes being shitheads on top of you. She's like, none of that should happen. That's fucked up. That's a messed up life to have. And, you know, and you're in a situation where you have to do, you know, why? Who are these kids who are making fun of you on the internet that now they can actually concretely negatively affect your business? What kind of a life is this that you live? I said, you mom, you're right. You know, this is a situation that I never, when I
You asked for this. You asked for this. That's what you should have told mommy. I asked for this because I thought, for whatever reason, I thought I was above criticism. Just like some of these other bigger YouTubers that are going around doing stupid shit and taking down videos randomly because they didn't like the fact that someone had an opinion of them. You guys let this little bit of power, if you even want to call it that, what's even power? It's influence. It's not even power. You let this little bit of influence get to your heads, and then you guys act like fucking nuts. You dared people to come after you. You pushed people, calling them shitheads, calling them this, that, and the third, calling them fucking losers. You dared people to come get you. And you did it for years. And then, just like with the FGC, when someone decided to call your bluff, you ain't curled up into a corner. In a ball. Like a balding bitch. That's what happened. You dared people to come get you, and guess what? Finally, someone decided to do it. You dared people to test you, so people came and tested you. You thought you were above criticism, so people started to criticize you. That's what happened. Now, obviously, mommy don't know that, so it is what it is. I'll let her off the hook on that one. She can get taken off the skewer on that one, no problem. But that's what that was. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, that Phil Burnell, Darkside Phil, DSP, let a bunch of kids fuck him in his successful business. How pathetic does that sound? How pathetic does it sound to have someone with a 10-year fucking legacy that let a bunch of people, most of them half his age, fuck his allegedly successful business? And fuck up his allegedly fucking loving relationship with Panda. And allegedly broke up his friendship with his two bosom buddies, brothers in arms, with John, Howard, OJ, and all the rest of the old buddies back there in Connecticut. It's amazing how a bunch of fucking kids were able to do that shit. That's fucking amazing. So amazing, in fact, that now he's sitting there in his mother's living room, in his mother's home, that's actually paid for because she did what she needed. Well, because his parents. Sorry, I keep talking like they're separated. Because they are. But anyway, at least I think they are. Because they knew how to do what they needed to do to have everything they wanted. And Phil, their son, couldn't do it. And has the nerve to sit there on his ass. Has the nerve to sit there on his ass and tell his mommy that kids fucked me over. And that's the reason why I'm a fucking failure. And that's the reason why I need you and dad to pull me out of this. Because some kids were bullying me online. Some kids. Holy shit. Oh my god. I'd like to tell you that I'm speechless, Phil, but I'm not. I'm really not. I know I might seem like it, but I'm not. My buzz is coming down. You ran back home to Connecticut to tell mommy and daddy you were getting bullied by kids? That's what you did? Holy shit. Because I'm hard pressed to believe that your mom just came to that conclusion on her own. So this is what you're telling mommy and daddy every week? That a bunch of these kids are fucking me over and that's why my business is fucking in the shitter? Holy shit.
To get into it 10 years ago, I never thought that this is where I would be. It was a hobby. It was a joke. I didn't know I would lose my office job. I didn't know that I would have to try to flip YouTube into a living and then YouTube would fall through a million times and all that. So essentially we had this very long and important conversation.
YouTube was a joke. It was a joke. And then ironically enough, YouTube keeps going. YouTube makes other people money out of their hobbies. YouTube made other people rich. And you actually became the joke on YouTube. Holy fuck, look how you came full circle. Think about this for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. This started off as his hobby. It was a joke. It wasn't really serious. He flipped it into a living because he had no choice, by the way. He had no choice but to. And then years later, he becomes the joke. His hobby ended up turning him into the joke. To where other people now make it their hobby to point out his fuck-ups of this joke of a life that he lives. It's not just that that YouTube made Phil Burnell a joke. It made his life a joke. Because he exploited everything in his life and turned it into YouTube. You know, the joke. The joke was supposed to be YouTube. Somehow, this idiot morphed his life into the joke. It became the joke. Holy shit. Amazing. Just amazing.
Okay. And where it ended up was a few things. The first is I realized, guys, I can't do this forever. I know that. And by the way, don't worry. It doesn't mean I'm quitting doing this anytime soon. I love it. But I know realistically, how long can I do this? I can't do this forever. She has a point. What could I do? Maybe another 10 years? Top 15 tops? Would people care when I'm 50 years old playing fucking video games? You know what I mean? And not to say that I couldn't try to diversify and do other things with my streaming. But I certainly don't think that it's going to be something people are going to want to tune into when I'm an older dude. You know, it's a younger generation. You know, they're not going to want to see me doing that stuff when I'm older.
No one wants to see you do it now.
So in reality, what she's basically saying is that I need to not quit what I do, but I do in the long term need to figure out what else am I going to do. And she's right. I agree with her after thinking about it. Being completely honest with everyone, what I need to kind of do is get myself to a financial situation where I don't have to work all day on stream. Maybe where I can do like, all right, my finances are in a situation where now I don't owe so much that I have to literally make a ridiculous amount of money to pay the minimum payments on everything. And so that way I can stream less and I can maybe go get a job that's an entry-level job that pays less than what I make streaming, but it won't matter because I won't owe all this debt to everyone and I won't need to make that much money anymore. You see what I mean? But that's not a short-term thing. There's no overnight fix to you owe less money to the world. You see what I mean?
You can do that now.
So this is something that's going to come in time where maybe, you know, again, maybe within 10 years, I can fix things financially behind the scenes where I'm not bleeding every month financially. And I can...
Do you guys see why I'm saying he's holding out for his parents to pass away? That's what this sounds like. He's literally just trying to buy time. And the way he keeps explaining that his parents are so goddamn sick and could die any day now, it sounds like he's almost starting to believe it. Your parents might not pass away until they're in their 80s. In their 90s, well, 90s are pushing it, but at least in their 80s. You as their son should be hoping for that. And this is what your 10-year plan is. to basically do a whole lot of nothing and try to just hold out. Well, then what is he holding out for, ladies and gentlemen? What the fuck is he holding out for? Does he sound very eager to get a job? At 47, he'll be almost 50. Almost 50. He thinks he's going to be able to get an entry job over what? Some 22 or 23-year-old whose IQ blows him, cat, and whatever pet that they decide to have out the water 10 times over? Really?
And I can go get another job and balance my life with that. And not to say, again, I don't want to quit doing this. I will do this. As long as it's within my power, guys. I will stream and share my daily gameplay and just fun experiences and interactions with you guys as long as I can, as long as people care. But nothing's forever. Nothing lasts forever. And my mom's right. She's like, you're going to be our age. How are you going to
Fuck your mom being right. I'm right. I was right. People said that before Mommy Burnell said that. Plenty of people said that before Mommy said. I'm being an asshole by saying I'm right. So discard that. Discard that. There's no need to be petty and shit. But people told you that people told you that years ago. People told you that back when you were living at the condo. Back when you were living back at the condo, people told you this shit. And now all of a sudden, Mommy Burnell came out with a revelation that, you know what, son? You're not that talented. You can't do this forever. You need to stop. Or you need to switch up. And now all of a sudden she right? How many people have you banned, Phil, for telling you to get a job? Hundreds? Hundreds? You personally, I mean. Personal lean-in bans. How many people have you banned over the years for telling you that? How many comments have you blocked and whatnot for that? How many people have you blocked on Twitter for that? Hundreds. I don't want to go as far as saying thousands. It's possible, but hundreds. But Mommy Burnell all of a sudden is right. And why was Mommy Burnell right, Phil? Tell us why Mommy Burnell was right about all that.
doing this at 60? Look at us. We can barely move. And you're going to be doing this at 60? You're out of your mind. And she's right. So basically, I think that's what it's going to be is in the next 10 years or so, once I finally get myself in a situation where financially it's not so bad, I'm going to look to get another job of some sort.
Is his tits jiggling? I could be wrong. It could be because the vodka's hit me a little harder than I think it is. But for some reason, Yoshi keeps jiggling. I might be tripping right now. I could be just spazzing out right now. But I swear though, he's jiggling though.
No, it's going to be work because I've been out of the job market for 10 years almost. And it's going to be probably another 10 years. You know what I mean? Before I can make those changes, but I'm going to have to. Okay. The other thing is, and my mom's absolutely right, she says you just can't keep doing what you're doing anymore. Like, if you literally cannot pay your bills, something's got to give. So, as afraid as I am of if I don't pay a certain thing, I'll ruin my credit or whatever, right? At this point, there's no alternative. You know what I mean? Like, basically, Kat and I sat down this week and talked a lot. And we were like, if I can't pay these taxes and we have to sell the house, what happens? Well, dumb fuck, fucking walnut-sized brained, drooling from the fucking mouth, sheep mentality bullshit artists who follow a few people on YouTube who make negative videos about me, who believe everything they're fucking told. They're morons. You know what I say? Fuck you. Fuck your mother. Shadow X222, are you a functional retard? I have to ask.
These fucking people.
Fucking asshole. People are nuts. People are fucking nuts. I mean, I can't take it anymore. How inept can you be at your job? They're changing the algorithms and not being transparent with us, or they're just so fucking stupid that they can't figure it out. They fucked it up and they don't even know what they fucked up. Stop that. Stop it, you fucking bastard. Stop. I need that money to pay my bills. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a shit.
Don't shoot. Shoot him. He's black. Shoot him.
Thanks for the money, stupid fuck. Garbage. The gunplay's still terrible. That's what you get. That's what you fucking get, bitch. They're sitting here and they're analyzing every little thing that I possibly say. They fucked it up, and now I'm gonna get fucked over, not them. They should be the ones getting fired, not me. It's totally ass backward here. Thank you, you fucking worthless humans, for the views.
So the reality of it is this. The reality of it is this. I have to make concrete changes that will ruin my credit in order to save the situation. I cannot leave this house, period. This house is where I work. This house is where the business is that makes me money. And this is the primary concern, is keeping this house, because if I lose this house, okay, then that means that I can't work, okay? I might not be able to get the internet I need to stream every day. I might not be able to do the work that I do in an office setting that's this quality, okay?
But your quality is garbage anyway, to be honest. And as I said before, you started off in an apartment, and you arguably had your most successful years in that apartment or condo, whatever. It looks like an apartment, to be honest with you. It's only a step up from a studio. You had your most profitable years in that condo. So what are you talking about?
So, it's just simple. As of now, my primary focus is this house and paying this mortgage and keeping the electricity and all that on. And whether that means that my credit gets permanently destroyed because I'm not paying the mortgage in Connecticut, or I'm not paying credit cards, or whatever it may be, so be it. Because this is the important thing. And eventually what's going to happen, depending on what happens, how much I can afford and the like, is probably eventually that condo that I have in Connecticut that's a money pit that I can't get rid of and I can't rent and I can't sell, they're going to get foreclosed. They're going to foreclose on it and take it out of my name. And that's going to be a tremendous financial burden off of me. It's going to be at the expense of my credit.
No, it's not. He thinks, and like I said, there are people on Twitter and on Kiwi Farms that are digging into this, but the long and short of it is if he ditches the condo, if he basically stops paying it, the bank will take it back, they will sell it, and they'll sue him for what he owes. Period. And if they have to take his house in Seattle to do it, they more than likely will. But either which way, the bank, similar to the house, as in the casino, the bank wins. The bank is not going to bite the bullet on that. They're not going to eat the loss. I don't know who's telling him that, but he's wrong. They are fucking wrong. They will take your fucking house, Phil. They will garnish your wages and whatnot, so you hiding your money over there in PayPal isn't going to help you. They will get all of that. It's the bank. They already have all your information. They already know what kind of money you have coming through. The bank doesn't get fucked. You do. You stop paying on that condo, you stop paying on that condo, you're going to be screwed. So you better call that agent back, tell him you'll pick up the phone no matter what time of day it is, and see if you can get that condo sold. You're a fucking moron if you end up defaulting.
At this point, I don't see another way out. The other thing with the credit cards is I know that with certain credit card companies, you can call and negotiate and say, listen, I'm in a bad financial position right now. I'm just in dire straits. I have a ridiculous amount of back taxes I owe the federal government and that I can't pay them. So obviously I can't pay you anymore, because if I don't pay the back taxes, they're just going to start taking my money and you're going to get nothing. So what I need to do is negotiate with these credit card companies and say, I can pay half of what you actually want, but you have to lower my interest rates to make that affordable so that the card doesn't just keep racking up and never get paid down. So basically I have to do all this stuff. I have to abandon a property in Connecticut. I have to negotiate with credit card companies, and this is going to permanently fuck my credit up. That's really what I have to do, and I committed to my mother that I'm doing it. I said, I will commit to you, Mom, that I'm going to do this because you're right. There's no way to pay everything anymore, and I now have a wife. We have a life together. You know what I mean? And we have to make these changes because we can't keep going this way until something goes wrong.
So, after this long... I mean, this was hours. This conversation was hours. All right? After this long conversation with my parents, finally, basically my mom said, well, since you can't go on the honeymoon, how much do you need to get on this payment plan for these taxes and basically not get completely screwed over? I told her. She gave me the money. She gave me enough money that combined with what she gave me, combined with what...
So, and at the end of the day, that's what this all comes down to. He mentally wore her down, and they were just like, we're going to give you the money. Or she was going to give him the money from the hop anyway. He already knew it. And this story is just redundant. There's nothing riveting about it at all. It all kind of comes full circle. Essentially, he gave his mom the pre-stream treatment, and she just coughed the money up. Either which way.
You guys gave me, all right, is enough to now pay the government, and my tax attorney will work with the government to qualify for the payment plan. All right? So, essentially, I am still going to have to try to make a lot of money because I'm going to have an additional new payment coming out of nowhere now. I don't even know what it's going to be. I was assuming probably $500 to $1,000 a month, but it depends on what the terms they give me for this payment plan. And what I'm going to have to do is, like I said, number one, dump the condo in Connecticut. Just don't pay it anymore till they foreclose. That's money in my pocket. And number two, make negotiations with all my credit card companies to pay like half. Because if I could pay half of what I'm paying now,
I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, Phil. This is gonna sound like a dick move on my part, but I don't give a fuck. If Phil, you end up fucking up serious like this, like really, really bad, and you end up losing that condo, and then you end up losing your fucking house in Seattle, and if I'm still around, I'm gonna send a bottle of wine to fucking all the other detractors. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have to just hit everybody up on Twitter and be like, hey, I owe bottles of wine to people. Hit me up and so I can send that shit. And I'm gonna ask them all to make a small compilation video. Don't have to be long. Could be 30 seconds of them just cheering to it. You know what I'm saying? They don't even have to cheer to you losing your fucking house. I just want them to have the bottle or have the glass or have it on the table and be like, cheers everyone. And that's it. I know that sounds extremely petty, but what the fuck? It's just like I said. You give him enough rope and he'll hang himself, and he's doing it right in front of you. And it's amazing. And in truth, it's actually kind of sad too. And when I mean sad, I don't mean like sad as in pathetic, which it is sad and pathetic, but it's so unnecessary. There's so many people that are trying to tell him that that's not the way to go, and are giving him really good advice. You're on a Kiwi farm all fucking day. You can't figure out how to get shit done. You can't read a fucking forum and figure out how that shit works. And yet, this is the path you've chosen. You were always destined for failure, Phil. Always. Despite the good graces of people like, just about everybody. Shit, I'm sure maybe even SOK had some type of goodwill towards you until they decided just to profit off you. Whatever. Either which way. Despite the goodwill of a bunch of people. And at the end of the day, you proved all of them wrong, that there wasn't not a goddamn thing redeemable about you. Meaning that they wasted their time trying to help you. And you proved people like me right. That you're just not worth a damn. You're really not. And your failure was already written in the stars. You were born to fail. You were born to fail. Oh my Christ, dude. You're like Lehman Brothers if Lehman Brothers was just a person. Holy fuck. I know you don't even know what Lehman Brothers is, Phil. But that's kind of what you are. You're Lehman Brothers in human form. Holy shit. And just far less successful. Holy shit. Because at one time, Phil, I talked about this early on in this, some people thought that you were one of the biggest people out there. You weren't. Like I said, I'm just not willing to give you enough credit for it. Maybe, but I don't think you were. But the whole but remember this phrase, Phil. Too big not to fail. That's what you are. In your own head, you thought you were too big that you couldn't fail. At all. Nobody is too big not to fail. Everybody stumbles. Some people get up, some people don't. You didn't even get up. You just chose to crawl. You did everything that you've ever put out was lazy. It was half-assed. It was garbage. And I can say that because I put out that same type of content. The difference is that I didn't ask people to fuck. People don't owe me. They don't owe me not fuck all of nothing. I never asked anybody to owe me shit. I never told anybody they needed to appreciate me. They take they take from this what they want to take from it, and they move on. Enjoy the rest of your day. You couldn't even do that. You couldn't even give credit to other people who helped you make your content. You couldn't even do that. And then you got the nerve to get mad because other people are restreaming you. Even though your streams are trash. You're mad because people took your garbage content and turned it into something palatable. Something entertaining. And spread that shit around. You have the nerve to shit on people and call them no lives and idiots and this, that, and the third, and yet you're the one who's 37 years old asking your parents to help you keep living. You lived the way you wanted. You've eaten ridiculous amounts of food. You know what I'm saying? You've gone on your vacations and trips. When's the last time your parents went on vacation, Phil? Tell me that. Matter of fact, Phil, with all the money that you've ever made, yeah? How many vacations have you sent your parents on? Have you sent your parents back home to Poland? for a week? You sent them back to Italy for a week? You sent them anywhere that didn't benefit you for any period of time? Did you do any of these things? You were so quick to go ahead and get packed up and pack up Panda or John or whoever it was and go off on vacation and shit. How many vacations did you send your parents on? And you want to sit here and tell me that your mother told you that the game is up, the party's over, and now all of a sudden you're like, yeah, Mom, you're right, party is over. I gotta be an adult now. And I'm supposed to fucking believe this? If some kid wants to believe that shit, that's fine. So be it. If one of your fucking true believers and shit who's knee deep in the cherry juice want to believe that shit, that's fine. That's their right. Go ahead, they can have it. But you want to ask a rational individual or a group of rational individuals to believe this? Like this is the fucking the doubt gospel? This doesn't work. That's not how this happens. You're where you're at because you're a fuck up. You always have been. When Mike Watt said that this piece of shit named DSP thought he was hot shit when he put 4th place and #1 ranked Super Turbo player under his signature on SRK, and some dude came up sat out of his seat and said that you had what, 60,000 followers, 30,000 followers, and he said, good for him. Let him take that to his grave. Mike was right. Wasn't he, Phil? All those years ago when Mike said that shit, he was right. He was right. He was right before all the money and everything came in. He saw you for what you really were. The FGC saw you for what you really were. That's why you're where you're at now. And the thing is you were warned. You were warned.
That's a lot of money in my pocket, and between those two, I should be making enough to not only pay all my bills that I absolutely need to pay to keep the business going and keep this house, but also enough to pay my taxes.
We're out of the water for the short term. Long term, who fucking knows what's going to happen? Because it seems like every time I get to this situation and something's going right, something creeps the fuck up out of the under the rug, or crawls out of the toilet, or shoots out of a monkey's ass at me and hits me. I mean, so many things have happened over the years with bullshit.
Holy shit. Alright, well, first thing is, thank you to Mighty D. God damn, that shit was amazing. Oh my god, that shit was amazing. This was very ranty, to say the very least. This was very, very rant heavy. Holy shit. Yet again, thank you to Mighty D. Thank you so very much to Mighty D. Oh shit, that shit got me hyped. Alright, let's bring this down a little bit. And, let's see here. Oh shit. Alright. So, yeah, guys, like I said, thank you yet again to Mighty D. Oh boy. Okay, this shit was very rant heavy, which only gives you guys a fucking taste of what's to come. Jesus Christ. I think I've said everything that I could really say at the moment and whatnot. I think it speaks for itself. Hold on just a second. Oh shit. Oh boy. Alright, so yeah, Kevin said this shit ran long. Oh boy. Alright, whatever. Oh fuck. Alright guys, so it is what it is, to be honest with you. I think if anybody ever had any doubt that Phil has reached a new low, he hasn't. You have to understand this is only the beginning. The game isn't over yet, to be honest with you. What I will say is, at the end of the day, treat this shit for what it is. It's entertainment. You know what I'm saying? You're not heavily invested in this shit. It is what it is. You're slowly but surely watching someone who believed he was better than everybody else, and still in some ways does, hit the ground hard. Not even hit the ground. Hit fucking hit the center of the earth extremely fucking hard, and despite the many people who tried to pull him out, he still figured out a way to fuck him up. You're talking about, and I'll go in this further in the next broadcast. You're talking about someone who had been given more opportunities than most. Were they lucrative opportunities when he initially was presented with them? No, but he could have parlayed that into something a whole lot larger years later. But that requires time, that requires effort, that requires forethought. And Phil didn't have any of that. Phil always was looking for a quick fix. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, that's what sums up his career, because that's exactly what he got. He wanted an easy way out. He wanted a quick fix. He wanted things to be simple and low effort, if not no effort. And that's exactly what he got. He got everything he wished for and some. And in some strange way, he's coming to the realization that, you know what, I fucked up. It wasn't worth it. Because at the end of the day, I didn't get anything I wanted. So all those years he was laying down on his couch with no camera on him, chilling, you know what I'm saying? Before the gout set in, before the haters really came through, all of that, he had a real chance to be something. And he chose not to because it was already too easy. He found the perfect lick, and he didn't see a reason to try harder for you guys. Fuck y'all. I'm gonna take this easy money, I'm gonna chill. And now years later, the money gone, the friends are gone, the influence is gone, the fans are gone, and all he has left is this hardcore fan group of people. Most of them are trolls, and nothing else. And a wife who may not even be fully committed to him. Waiting for the next 10 or 15 years to get a job, i.e. waiting for mommy and daddy to basically take their last bow and exit. That's what this all really comes down to at the end of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News, always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network Productions. I'm your host / anchor, GTG of the Snort Report. Take care of yourselves. End of broadcast.
Looking for. You got some idiot named DSP who's a total piece of shit, by the way. I like to get that on YouTube, but this guy thought he was hot shit because he beat me and Choi in a game that was like, it's like fucking Neo Geo conversion of Street Fighter or some crap, dude. and he was so proud that he put under as a signature he's the #1 U.S. ranked Super Turbo player that year. But I mean, look at him now. I mean, he's just. 20,000 idiots are subscribed to him. That's great. Congratulations. Congratulations with your YouTube channel, and hope you enjoy your life, bro. I mean, it's a great victory. PlayStation 1 Super Turbo champion. You know, take that to your grave, bro. Good luck.